Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Kashif Kamran and I welcome you all to the Advanced Audit and Assurance Practice to Pass webinar for June 2021 exams being organized by ACCA Pakistan. Now just before I proceed further with my webinar, I just want a confirmation from your side that all of you can hear me. Okay, that's great. If all of you can hear me loud and clear, let's start on with the proceeding of the June 2021 webinar. Now, just before starting on with the proceeding, I would like to introduce myself as a tutor. Now, in terms of my tutor profile, I am Kashif Kamran. And in terms of my teaching experience, it's been over 14 years since I am teaching the ACCA qualification. My specialization is in both the AA paper and the AAA paper, alongside the strategic business leader paper. In terms of my associations, I am associated with PAC, a gold approved learning provider of ACCA in Lahore, Pakistan. And I'm also associated with Tabani School of Accountancy, which is a platinum approved learning provider of ACCA in Karachi, Pakistan. I am also a registered mentor for Oxford Brookes University research projects, and this is my 12th AAA Practice to Pass session I am conducting for the June 2021 exams. Now, this is my tutor profile, and with this, I welcome you again to the June 21 Practice to Pass webinar being organized by ACCA Pakistan. Let's start on with the proceeding. How can you reach me or how can you follow me? You can follow me on my YouTube channel, which is the youtube.com/Kashif Kamran. You can follow me on my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/AAA by KK. And you can email me at kashifkamran@gmail.com. You can also contact me on my WhatsApp number, which is given on the right-hand side of your screen. And during the course of the live webinar, you will be provided with the link of the WhatsApp group. You can join the WhatsApp group as well for connecting with your tutor up to the day of exams. So this is the channels you can explore linking with the tutor. Now proceeding further towards the Practice to Pass webinar for June 21 exams and the day one today, I would like to discuss first with all of you the pass rates, the paper format, and the examiner comments generally before starting on with my proceedings for the day one. And in the first 10 minutes, multiple times, I will be asking you about the clarity of my voice. So just again, please confirm me that all of you can hear me loud and clear. Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, so if all of you can hear me, let's start on with the proceedings of the pass rates, the paper format, and examiner comments. Now, in terms of the objective of this practice to pass session, just like the objective of the previous practice to pass sessions I have conducted for ACCA Pakistan, the objective is to provide you the right direction to pass the AAA exams, a direction which is closer to examiner mindset. Now, since I started the journey of this Practice to Pass webinars from March 2018, my focal point has been to bring you closer to the examiner mindset, because that is the only way you can pass the AAA paper. As a tutor, I believe that AAA is not a difficult paper, but AAA is a challenging paper, and you can overcome the challenge as a student if you bring yourself closer to the examiner mindset. And my objective of the Practice to Pass session is to bring you closer to the examiner mindset so that you can pass the AAA paper. Moreover, these sessions, which are spread over the next 5 days, starting from today in accumulative 15 hours of the session, will be a mind opener for all of you, as they provide you the right tips and techniques to control the AAA paper and the right way to practice. Now, I believe because AAA is a challenging paper, so you need the right tips and you need the right techniques to pass the paper. And most of the time, what I have seen students that they struggle with the right tips and techniques, and they continue to struggle with the AAA paper. And even though they give multiple exam sittings of AAA, they never surpass the barrier of 50 marks because they are unaware of the right tips and techniques they need to pass the AAA paper. So I will be giving you over the 5 days the right tips and techniques which will bring you closer to success in the AAA paper. Moreover, this practice to pass will also mitigate your misconceptions and myths around the AAA paper. A lot of students have a lot of myths and misconceptions, and I want to mitigate them as well during the course of my practice to pass sessions. So let's start the journey and give you the right direction to pass the AAA exams, which you are planning for June 2021. Pass rates. If you look at your screen in front and you look at the recent 5 exam sittings from December 19 to March 21, the average passing rates for AAA is in the early 30s. Now that gives you a very strong message. If you look at the pass rates, which are in early 30s, and you are planning your June exams with a paper which have the passing rates in early 30s, again, I will repeat my words that AAA is not a difficult paper, it is a challenging paper. And for a challenging paper, you need the right approach, you need the right direction, you need the right tips, and you need the right techniques. And you need to trust your tutor, and you need to trust whatever the tutor is telling you. And you need to follow that up to the day of exam so that you are successful. So I hope you will all trust me. I will hope you will all follow me, and I will hope you will all listen to me, and you will follow the instructions, the tips, the techniques which are given to you for preparing yourself for the June 2021 exams. So it is not something difficult to pass a AAA paper. You just need the right mindset. You just need the right approach, and you need to be among the 30% students who pass the AAA in the very first attempt. And if you follow the right strategy, if you follow the right approach, you can also increase the passing rates. So make an ambition that you want to pass in the very first attempt in the June 2021 exams. And even if you are repeating, make a target that this time you will pass the AAA paper and sit down and study in a very proper manner. So don't just get distracted with the low pass rates. The other students who even pass the AAA in the first attempt also pass the AAA paper with this challenge. So why not you? You can also take on this challenge, right? And you can also pass the AAA paper with these low pass rates. So just don't be pessimistic, be optimistic. And if you are optimistic, you will definitely pass the triple exams. Okay, let's proceed on, right? And again, a final confirmation that my voice is getting through to all of you. Okay, that's wonderful for confirming that you can all hear me, right? So be optimistic, be optimistic. That is a very strong message to all of you. Don't be pessimistic, don't be pessimistic, because if you are pessimistic, you're spoiling your June 2021 exams, right? So let's proceed further from the pass rates of the recent exam settings and clarifying the fact that AAA is a challenging paper and it's not a difficult paper. And over the next 15 hours of this webinar, I will be mitigating your doubts, your confusions, and your fear factors around the AAA paper. Okay, moving further, the syllabus versus the AAA paper. Now, first of all, make it very clear, there is a general misconception about among student community because in most of the countries globally, the AAA has now become a computer-based exams. There are very few countries in the world which are still offering a pen and paper exam for June, but most of the countries in the world in June 2021 is offering a computer-based exam for AAA. And my webinar will focus on that. But there is a misconception that a lot of students are thinking that the format of the paper has changed in the computer-based exams. The answer to that is no. The format of the paper is still the same. the same paper format which you used to have in a pen and paper exam is the same format you're having in the computer-based exam. So is there any change in format? No. The format of the paper still remains the same. That is, you have 3 questions in the paper and you have to attempt all the 3 questions. Let me put that in clarity in front of you. When you look at the syllabus of the AAA and you connect the syllabus with the AAA paper, uh, the syllabus area D, which is the planning and audit of historical financial statement, and it is the most important syllabus area in the AAA exam. The syllabus area D, planning and the audit of the historical financial statement, is tested in the section A of the paper, and the section A of the paper contains question number 1, and this question number 1 is worth 50 marks. So in the first question, the 50 marks question, which is set in the section A, the syllabus area D contributes significantly. Then when you look at the section B of the paper, the section B of the paper have 2 questions. So question number 2 of 25 marks and question number 3 of 25 marks each. The syllabus area E, which is about completion, review, and reporting, and the syllabus area F, which is about other assignments, contributes heavily in the section B. So there are 3 syllabus areas. I'm again repeating them. Syllabus area D, syllabus area E, and syllabus area F, which is very, very important. Syllabus area D contributes in the question number 1, which is in section A. Syllabus area E and F contributes in the section B, irrespective they come in question 2 or irrespective they come in question number 3. I hope you're all clear on that. So these are 3 very important syllabus areas. What about other syllabus areas and how do they contribute to the AAA paper? Now, when you look at the other syllabus areas, the syllabus area A, B, and C, they can be tested anywhere in the paper. They are flexible. They can come in question number 1, they can come in question number 2, they can come in question number 3, they can be in section A, they can be in section B. So they are the flexible syllabus areas. So syllabus area A, B, C is known as flexible. An examiner can put them anywhere. But when you look at the syllabus area D, that is only in the section A. When you look at the syllabus area E and F, that is in the section B. I hope you're all clear on that. But the syllabus area A, B, and C, it is the most flexible area of the syllabus, and at times you find them in section A, at times you find them in section B, at times you find them in both A and B. So that's the most flexible syllabus area. And we know how important ethical and professional matters are for the AAA paper. It's very difficult that you find an exam sitting without ethical and professional issues. And even it is very difficult that you find an exam sitting without quality control. Quality control is a very, very important topic. And so is practice management. The regulatory environment is the knowledge areas, and they are tested very less. Sometimes the examiner tests you on the knowledge areas and sometimes the examiner don't. But whenever the examiner tests you on the knowledge areas, it's like 10% of the paper. But the remaining 90% of the paper is from the syllabus area D, E, F, B, and C. So these are important syllabus areas which you should prepare in a very, very effective manner. I hope you're all clear on it, right? And then comes the last syllabus area G, which is known as current issues. Only when an examining teams write an article. Current issues only come in exam paper when the examining team writes an article on a current issue. And it's not necessarily that if the examining teams writes an article, for example, there is an article which was published in April 2021, which I will cover in the day 1 of the webinar, which is an exposure draft on the code of conduct. Now that exposure draft on the code of conduct is a current issue. Now, will it come in the June exams? It can. And what if it doesn't come in the June exam? Then it might come in the September exams, or it might come in the December exams. It's not necessarily that the current issues are tested whenever an article comes in. Even though the article has come in April 2021, an article has been put on the ACCA website, which I will be covering today, which is the exposure draft on the code of conduct. And this is very potential if you're preparing yourself for the June 2021 exams. But do current issue comes in every exam sitting? No. The current issue only comes in when the examining team writes an article on current issue. So is it a regular feature of the AAA exams? No. But is a current issue important for the June 21 exams? The answer is yes, because the article on the current issue has already been published. I hope you're all sound and clear on this, right? So is everyone clear with the syllabus versus the paper? Is everyone clear the flexible syllabus areas ABC? And is everyone clear with the definite syllabus areas DEF and how they contribute to the section A and the section B of the paper? And is everyone clear on the current issues? If you can just reply with a yes and no. Okay, that's great. If you are understanding how the syllabus is connecting with the AAA paper. Now, just before I proceed further towards more understanding of this, I would just like to affirm something in a very organized manner. I'll be using a Word file which I'll share on the WhatsApp group every day. This is the Word file you can see in front of your screen, and this Word file works for me like a whiteboard. Everything I write on this will be shared with you at the end of the webinar. Can all of you see a Word file in front of your screen? Okay, that's great. Now, first of all, my big question is, or a frequently asked question is, how to prepare for June 21 exams. Let's make a strategy in 10 minutes and go out of it, because this is a frequently asked question I was getting from students in the last 6 to 7 days before the webinar, that how should we prepare for the June 21 exams. Now you should understand, or you should realize, where are we standing today. Today is the 27th of April, right? 27th of April, and if everything goes as per plan, 27th of April, and if everything goes on plan, the exam day is the 7th of June. We know there is a COVID situation globally. Things changes dramatically. Exams been called off drastically in the last few months, so we cannot be sure. But as of today, we know, okay, the exam day is the 7th of June 2021. Now you need to see how much time you have. 27th of April, that is today. The exam day is on the 7th of June 2021. And looking at this, you need to see how you should plan yourself for the 7th of June in the time you're left with. Now, when you think how you should plan, number one thing is that you need to perform a self appraisal or a self evaluation of yourself. Look at yourself. Do a self appraisal of yourself. You might be a job based student, or versus you might be a full-time student, and you will have a different timetable. You might be a full-time student, so you need to see who you are. Are you a job-based student or you are a full-time student? And then you need to understand how much time can you give each day, because that will vary. I cannot give you any formula of how much time you can give each day, because it will vary from a student to student, being a job-based student to a full-time student. So how much time can you give each day? This is a question you need to answer yourself. How much time can you give each day from 27th of April to the 7th of June when you have your actual exams? Now, knowing that and having performed your self-appraisal and knowing your limitations, what are your limitations as a student? What are the barriers as a student? Can you study on the weekdays or can you study on the weekends? Uh, Whatever, you need to decide your plan. So will all of you be making your own plans, doing a self-appraisal of yourself from today to the 7th of June, right? And again, can all of you hear me? Okay, and you will be making a plan right now. If you ask me what should be part of an effective plan, if you're planning, what should be an effective plan? An effective plan would be that, first of all, you should focus on the core syllabus areas. You should be very strong on the core syllabus areas, right? And you should focus on the core syllabus areas. Now, what are core syllabus areas, right? You should focus on areas like money laundering. You should focus on areas like professional skepticism. You should focus on areas like using the work of others, using the work of others. You should be focusing on auditor responsibilities. You should be very good on auditor responsibilities for opening balances. You should be very good on auditor responsibilities for laws and regulations. And you should be very good on auditor responsibilities for fraud. So these are some of the important areas you should be focusing on. Now come to the more important stuff. You should be very good on ethical and professional issues. You should be very good on ethical and professional issues. You should be very good on the quality control issues. You should be very good on practice management, on the practice management matters, that is accepting a new audit client, accepting a new audit engagement. What are the matters you should consider when you're accepting a new audit engagement? Or further services from an existing client, further services from an existing client. So you should be very good on the syllabus area C, which is about practice management. Then you should be very good on areas like audit risk, areas like business risk. And if you're good on audit risk, then you are automatically good on risk of material misstatements. You should be very good on the areas of audit evidence and audit procedures. You should be very good on audit report, and all you need to know about audit report you should be very good on that. You should be very good on communication of matters to those charged with governance. Those charged with governance. And finally, you should be very good on areas known as other assignments. And in the other assignments, you have the review of prospective financial information. You should be very good on due diligence review. You should be very good on forensic audit, and you should be very good on audit of performance information. Now, this is just a quick summary of the core syllabus, which is right in front of your screen. Now, look at this for a minute and imagine where you are standing today. How many areas which I put on the screen in front of you have you completed? And how many areas are still left with? So you need to ask a question to yourself that how many areas the tutor has put on screen and I know them. I have already done them. And how many areas I am still left with, so that you make an effective timetable from today. So will these areas be helpful to you? Will you make a checklist? Will you make a checklist today ensuring that where are you standing for the June 21 exams? These are minimum areas, right? These are minimum areas where you should focus on. These are minimum areas which you should polish up for your June 2021 exams. So will this list help you do a self-appraisal of yourself, everyone? Okay, that's great, right? Now the next thing, first of all, you should focus on the core syllabus areas, right? That's one part of the plan. The second part of the plan is that you have to practice, and you have to practice plenty of past papers. Now, when I say practice plenty of past papers, uh, you need to practice plenty of past papers either with pen and paper if you are going for a pen and paper exam in your country, or you need to practice on the CBE practice platform, which I will be demonstrating in my session today. So you need to practice plenty, either pen and paper if in your country you still have a pen and paper exam, or you need to practice on the practice platform if you're appearing for a AAA CBE exam in your country in June 21, and I'll be demonstrating the use of the practice platform shortly. So practice plenty. Now, how much? You should first practice the recent papers. The recent papers. Now, which recent papers? Start from September, December 20 paper, because March 21 paper is not available. Then you should focus on the March, June 19 paper. You should focus on the you should focus on the March 2020 paper then. Then you should focus on the paper in the 2019, which is the June, June 2019 paper. And you should also focus on the September, December 19 paper. You should focus on the September, December 19, 2019 paper. Then you go down into 2018. In 2018, you should focus on the December 2018 paper. You should focus on the September 2018 paper. So these are the first priority. Whether you are appearing for a pen and paper exam or you're appearing for a computer-based exams, these 6 past papers should be your priority. Should be your priority. Because from September 18, we got the new format of the paper, right? Which is still applicable. So you should follow papers from September 18 up to September, December 20 exams. And you should do them in full. And that is the best practice you can do for your upcoming exams in June 21. But if you want to do practice beyond September 18, then what will you do? I would prefer that don't do very old papers. If you want to do further papers, then further papers will be from 2016, from December 2016 onwards. But that should be your second priority up to June 18, up to June 2018. But if you want to do this, please keep this in your second priority, not in your first priority. I hope you're all clear with the list of papers you need to do. So practice plenty is the second area you need to focus on. The last thing, read plenty of articles, because that's my critical point, which I keep telling students in every webinar I do. That is, read plenty of articles. Read plenty of articles. There are so many articles on the ACCA website. I have already recommended a big list of articles to read in my previous webinar, March 2021 webinar. You can watch the recording of my March 21 webinar and you can get a list of the articles you should be reading with. So I believe there are 3 things which can be good. Read articles, practice plenty, and focus on the core syllabus areas. That should be part of your plan for the June 21 exams. I believe this is not a difficult plan, right? Read plenty of articles, practice plenty, and the final thing you need to do is that you need to focus on the core syllabus areas. 1, focus on the core syllabus areas. Number 2, practice plenty of past papers. And number 3, you go down with read plenty of articles, right? That's very, very important. And please, the last thing, minimum, you need to watch my previous webinars. You need to watch the previous AAA webinars. The previous AAA webinars you need to follow is at least this one, the June 21, plus you follow my March 21 webinar, you follow my December 20 webinar, and you follow my March 2020 webinar. So these are 4 webinars I would recommend all of you to watch, including this one, right? And Sanjay Kumar, the articles you can get from the March 21 webinar. I've covered a comprehensive list of articles in the March 21 webinar. So if you watch the day 1 of the webinar, you will get to know about the articles to read. Right. Articles are knowledge booster, right? Articles give you the mindset of the examiner. So I normally believe that articles should take precedence over book. A lot of time you spend time on book, but I believe you should spend time on articles, because articles give you the right knowledge for AAA exams, because mostly they're written by the examining team and they give you the right exam rigor needed over the BPP and Kaplan book. Right. So I'll be telling you how you can watch my previous webinars shortly. And revision kit is up to you, right? If you are a student who follows the revision kit, then that's perfectly fine. But if you're not a student who follows the revision kit and you do the past papers, you can do the past papers. As a tutor, I recommend doing the past papers over the revision kit. Okay, so this is how you should be going down with it. Okay, one last thing you can add here is that you can read examiner reports. At least 3 to 4 examiner reports, of recent attempts. I hope you all know about examiner reports, because if you read the examiner reports, at least of the 3 to 4 last exam sittings, this will really help you with a constructive feedback of the examiner, and the examiner will tell you where students are good at and where students are bad at. So I've already recommended in my March 2021 webinar of reading the examiner reports. So please make a habit of reading the examiner reports, at least 3 to 4 examiner reports of recent attempts. And that would be really helpful because they will give you a good list of constructive feedback, which is much needed for you to pass the AAA paper, right? And this Word file will be shared with you over the WhatsApp group. So nothing to worry about if you miss something in which is coming right in front of your screen. Is everyone clear with the strategy for June 21 exams? Right? So you need to plan yourself from today to the 7th of June. You need to do a self appraisal. You need to find out what sort of a student you are. Then, in terms of an effective plan, you should focus on the core syllabus areas. You should practice plenty of the past papers. You should read plenty of articles, which I recommended in the March 2021 webinar. You should watch the previous AAA webinars and you should read the examiner reports. Now, if you want to watch the previous webinar, particularly you want to watch the March webinar, and you want to watch the June webinar, and you want to watch the December webinar. So what you can do is you can easily go to my YouTube channel I recommended at the beginning of the webinar, which is youtube.com/Kashif Kamran. You can see that in front of your screen now. Can all of you see the YouTube page, my channel page in front of you? Everyone, can you see that? Okay, so if you go to my channel, which is youtube.com/Kashif Kamran, you will find the March webinar on my YouTube channel, the day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. And you will also watch the December webinar on my YouTube channel. So it's pretty easy that you go to my YouTube channel and you follow my previous webinars. And I hope it's a pretty simple address, youtube.com/Kashif Kamran. I can even share the link of this in the chat box with all of you. I hope you all got this link right in your chat box. Okay, now moving back towards my presentation, we were discussing the format of the paper and we were discussing how different syllabus areas contribute to your 100 marks paper. Now moving away from that and moving away from making an effective plan, I've already made it clear the paper format, right? The paper format consists of section A and section B. You have 150 marks question in section A and you have 225 marks question in section B. And the section A consists of a 50 marks question, and that 50 marks question includes 4 professional marks, which are available for writing a briefing note, which I will make clear as I proceed towards my agenda for the day 1. So a pretty simple paper format if anyone is doing AAA for the first time. 3 questions, which is to be attempted in like 3 hours and 15 minutes. So that's like 195 minutes. Plenty of time if you go down writing a realistic answer. Now moving away from the paper format, this is what I need to recommend all of you. If you're preparing for the June 21 exams, this is my recommendation to all of you. You should watch my December 20 webinar, and I hope you can see the hyperlink. You should watch my March 21 webinar, and I hope you can see my hyperlink here. When you watch the previous webinar, follow the guidance. Follow the guidance I've given in the previous webinars. Follow the recommendations I've given in the previous webinar and read all the articles I have recommended in the previous webinar. So at least the December 20 webinar and the March 21 webinar is essential for all of you as you prepare for the June 2021 exams. And you should be following my recent webinar, which is going live now, the June 21 webinar. And again, whatever guidance I give you in the June 21 webinar, whatever recommendations I give you in this webinar, and whatever articles I tell you to read in this webinar must also be followed. So if you go with these 3 webinars, 15 hours from December 20, 15 hours from March 21, and 15 hours from June 21. So that's like 45 hours. And that will be real good preparation for the June 2021 exam. So will you make a habit of going with December 20 and March 21 webinars and the June 21 webinars till the 7th of June? In total, these are 45 hours, right? Which can be really good for all of you, right? So the hyperlinks have been given. You just need to click on the hyperlink, or you just copy the hyperlink in the address box of your search engine and you will reach the December 20 webinar. Okay, that's great. Now moving on further and taking a quick look at the examiner feedback before I start with my agenda of the day 1. I just tried to took some feedback of the examiner from a very recent examiner report, which was published in December 2020 exams. And there were some journal comments of the examiner, which can be really, really beneficial for all of you. Number one comment of the examiner is the candidates should note that accounting standards listed within the SBR syllabus are also examinable in the AAA paper. So you should have a very good command on the accounting standards if you're preparing yourself for AAA paper. And that is the reason it is recommendable that you do your SBR paper before the AAA. If any one of you has attempted SBR recently, you will have a very good accounting knowledge and you stand in a better position to pass the AAA paper in the first go. So the more updated accounting knowledge you have, the better you will be in the AAA paper. So it is highly recommendable that you do the SPR paper before and the AAA paper after, because that is what the examiner is telling, that you should be good on the accounting standards, and every accounting standard you do in the SPR paper. Number next, marks are awarded at the AAA level for the application of knowledge. See this. No rote learning, no rote learning. If you believe you will get marks for writing generic stuff, no. If you believe you get marks for writing the rote learn knowledge, no. If you believe I will reproduce the BPB book and the Kaplan book and I will get marks, no. You will only get marks for application, which is the case study. You look at the case, you read the case, and you understand the case, and then you write an answer which is sync with case. Sync with case. If your answer is sync with case, you will pass the AAA paper. I hope you're getting this message. Sync with case. So if your answer is sync with case, you will pass. So try to produce an answer in AAA exams which is sync with case. That is the best answer. So application, not the rote learning, right? Okay, moving on. Next one. Candidates should ensure that they are fully conversant with the financial reporting standards covered by SBR to maximize their ability to effectively identify audit risk that may arise from the issues and propose effective procedures. So you should be fully conversant with your accounting knowledge you do in the SBR paper, because that accounting knowledge will really help you in identifying the audit risk, which is in the question number 1. And that accounting knowledge will help you propose effective procedures. So if you want to be good on procedures in the AAA paper and you want to be good on the audit risk in the AAA paper, then you should be fully conversant with the SBR knowledge. So again and again, the examiner is reinforcing that you should be good at the accounting standards. And these are comments from the recent exam sitting, the December 20. Moving on. A common feature of a weaker answer in this subject is to use rote learned knowledge without application to a specific scenario. I hope that's self-explanatory, right? Application is success, not rote learning. If you are a rote learn student, you will fail in the AAA paper. But if you are an application student, you read the case study, you identify the answer from the case study, and you sync your answer with the case study, you will definitely pass the AAA exam in the very first exam sitting. So AAA is not a difficult paper, it is a challenging paper. So note rote learn answers, right? Further, candidates should be able to synthesize and evaluate material. Simply stating knowledge without explaining is of no use. You should synthesize and evaluate. Just producing knowledge without explaining is useless. Now, whenever you identify something from a case study, you're reading a case, right? And you identify something from a case study. Now, once you identify something, you need to explain that. And when you are explaining, you need to develop your point. You need to develop your point. Develop your point. Now, I believe if you want to develop a good point, it takes like 3 to 4 sentences. If you are developing a good point, it takes like 3 to 4 sentences to develop a good point. I'm not saying 3 to 4 lines. I'm saying 3 to 4 sentences. A sentence is when you put a full stop. So if you look at my bullet number 1 in front of your screen here, my bullet number 1 consists of 2 sentences because there are 2 full stops coming in it. So I'm saying 3 to 4 sentences is what it takes to develop a very good point for AAA paper. Evaluate the material. So it's not just you put the knowledge, it's about linking that with the case study. It's about explaining that in the context of case study, right? So I hope you're clear on that. Synthesize and evaluate. And I'll be exploring that more over the next 4 days. Synthesize and evaluate. Is that clear to all of you? The point number 1 on the screen. So synthesize and evaluate, right? That's very, very important. Okay, now moving away from synthesize and evaluate. This is very important, right? This is particularly important with responses relating to procedures. The purpose of procedure must be given, and ethics, where knowing the name of an ethical thread will not be awarded credit, it's in its own right, rather identifying a specific way in which the threat arises to a given scenario and the implication to a specific case. See what the examiner telling you? Examiner is saying it's not just a procedure you are writing in the exam paper. You will get marks if you write the purpose of a procedure. So purpose of a procedure is very, very important. And then the examiner says it's not just the name of the threat, self-review threat, self-interest threat, which will give you marks. It is that you have to identify the specific way in which the threat arises in a given scenario and the implication in the specific case to attain credit. It's not just you say, oh, this is a self-review threat. No, you need to tell why it is a self-review threat in the context of the case. What's the implication of the self-review threat in the context of the case? And what's the logical safeguard? So you need to develop a reasonable point of 3 to 4 sentences. So the ethical threat, explaining why it is an ethical threat and justifying a relevant safeguard. That is wonderful marks. And if you're writing a procedure, you cannot just say review the board minutes. You need to write a procedure with a purpose. Review the board minutes to confirm the business rationale of acquiring a subsidiary, or review the board minutes to confirm the approval and the business rationale of acquiring a subsidiary. You should write a procedure with a purpose. So it's not just you write the knowledge. It's more important that you evaluate your answer and you develop your answer to a reasonable length to score marks in the AAA paper. I hope you're all clear on the bullet number 2. The next one. Appropriate exam technique should be developed using question practice for the skill of time management, reading relevant articles and exam technique articles published on ACCA website, and the past examiner reports. So have I recommended you that shortly on my Word file? Examiner reports, reading the articles, relevant technical articles, and practice. This is the message from the examiner. Practice, read articles, and read examiner reports, and you will be successful. I hope you follow this. And I hope you seriously follow this. So practice the past papers, read the examiner reports, and read the technical articles, because that's where the clue is. Nowhere the examiner is saying read the books. Nowhere is the examiner saying read the textbook. The examiner is saying practice, read articles, read examiner reports, and you will be successful. I hope you're all clear on that, right? So this is the feedback, and I recommend you to read the feedback yourself, read the examiner reports yourself, because from the examiner report, you get so constructive feedback, which could be real important for you. So I hope this journal feedback, which I discussed in the last 10 minutes, must have given you something, if nothing, everyone. Okay, that's great. Okay, moving on. Now coming to the main agenda of the webinar, agenda of the Practice to Pass. Now this webinar for June 21, organized by ACCA Pakistan, is spread on 5 days. What's the agenda each day, starting from today, so that you know the right agenda and you come prepared each day. Let's look at the agenda. On the day 1, which is today, 27th of April, I'll be looking at the computer-based exams, and I will be putting time on the practice platform to give you the do's and don'ts of the practice platform shortly, because in most of the countries in June 21, the AAA paper will be computer-based, so I need to spend time on the computer-based environment. And in certain countries, there is still a pen and paper exam. You can still benefit from this webinar, because the exam techniques, the marking scheme, the way you write the answer remains the same, whether you do it with pen and paper or you do it on the computer-based platform. The only thing that changes is the interface from paper to computer. Rest, you can benefit from this webinar and the previous webinars. And I will be discussing the new article recently published in the last 1 hour of my webinar today. And if the time gets over, then I will continue with the new article recently published in the day 2. So if anything is left down, it will then restart the same thing from the day 2 then. On the day 2, I will be discussing the business risk and the risk of material misstatement. I will be spending more time on business risk because in my last webinar, which was my March 21 webinar, I focused aggressively on risk of material misstatement and audit risk. So I would recommend you that for the risk of material misstatement and for the audit risk, you should watch my previous webinar, which I just recently conducted for March exams. But I will focus extensively on business risk in my day 2. In the day 3, I'll be looking at ethical, professional, and quality control issues. That's a core feature of the paper, and I cannot skip that. On the day 4, I'll be looking at audit evidence and procedures because last time in my March 20 webinar, I focused on other assignments. So if you want to focus on other assignments, you can watch my March 2021 webinar. And on the day 5, I'll be looking at the audit report. I cannot skip audit report as a topic because it's such a fundamental area of the AAA paper. Now, each time I perform a webinar, and I know that I have just performed a webinar 3 months ago, I need to keep it different. Now, what is the difference in this webinar? First of all, I'm focusing on the AAA CBEs, which I didn't focus on in my last webinar. I'm focusing on the new article. So this is another new thing I'm doing this time. I'm focusing on the business risk, which I didn't perform in the last webinar. And I'm focusing on audit evidence and procedures, which I didn't perform in my last webinar. Ethical, professional, and quality control issues was even in the last webinar and this webinar. The audit report was in the last webinar and this webinar, but I'm taking on new exam papers which I've not performed in the previous webinar. So again, my message is loud and clear to all of you. How many webinars you need to watch to be very well prepared for June 21 exams? Number 1, the December 2020. Number 2, the March 21. And number 3, the June 21, right? So if you follow these 3 webinars, you will get everything you need to know to pass the June 21 exams. I hope that has been documented by all of you in an effective manner. Right? So forensic audits was covered in the March 2021 webinar, Bahawal, and any other topics, you need to watch the 3 previous webinars to be controlling all the topics, because in every webinar I keep changing topics so that there is no element of repetition in my webinars, right? Okay, so let's move on to the agenda for day 1. And the big agenda for day 1 today is the computer-based exams and is to prepare you on that. AAA CBEs and the new technical article. AAA CBEs, that's a big question. That's a big question for the student community because I have seen so many students puzzled with the computer-based exams and they have such a big fear factor as if something big has happened. You're all used to with computers. You are right. Every day you use smartphones. You're so good on typing. You have so wonderful typing speeds. I hope the computer literacy is there. We are living in 2021 when the computer literacy is considered to be very high globally, and still the student community have a fear factor. Still they believe pen and paper exams are good. And I'll be proving in the next 1 hour that the computer-based exams have more advantages than the pen and paper exams. So let's start on with the journey and let's find out the students' questions on the AAA CBEs and how to mitigate them. And again, if I miss something out on CBEs over the next 4 days to follow, I will be practicing on the practice platform. So if I miss something out today, I will be catching on them on the day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, because over the next 5 days, I'll be using the practice platform. I will be guiding you the features of the practice platforms. I will be writing the answer on the practice platform so I can drill as a tutor in front of you the do's and don'ts of the practice platform. I hope you're all clear on that, right? So over the next 15 hours, you will have a command on the practice platform. You will know the do's and don'ts of the practice platform, and you exactly know how to handle the practice platform. So let's start the journey. today and over the next 5 days, because I have to give some time for the technical article as well. So even if I miss something from the computer-based exams, I still have the next 4 days to catch up. I hope you're all clear on that, right? Okay, moving on. The practice platform. Now, in terms of the practice platform, how to prepare in Excel on the practice platform, the CBEs, the AAA CBEs, right, from June 21. Even in Pakistan, we have the AAA CBEs, and again, Pakistan is a big market, and we are converting to computer-based exams for the first time from June. Let's see some of the questions. Number one, the shift from pen and paper exams to CBEs, right? And I hope a lot of you might be giving AAA in a computer-based environment for the first time. You must have given some of your older papers like F4, F5, F6, F7, F8, F9 in the computer-based environment, or you might have given any strategic level exams in a computer-based environment. But a lot of you might be giving the AAA in a CBE environment for the very first time, right? So we need to focus on how you can excel on the computer-based environment. Student fear factor, but why? Over the next 1 hour, I will be giving you the answer, but why? What's the fear factor? Because once I demonstrate the practice platform, then I will ask you, what's the fear factor? Be prepared for that. Advantages of CBEs, I will be discussing them over the next 1 hour. How to excel on the practice platform, again, over the next 1 hour, I'll demonstrate, and again, the answers to these questions will automatically be available as I start to speak over the next 1 hour. ACCA support and resources for CBE exams, improving your typing speeds. How can you improve your typing speeds? And this is all what I need to focus on, preparing and excelling in a computer-based exams for AAA, right? Are you all ready to start looking at the computer-based environment for AAA and looking at the answers to the students' fear factor, advantages, how to excel, the supports and resources, and improving your typing speed, right? Let's start on with a journey. Okay, now let's see how to go about it. Okay, you come to this page, the AAA CBE introduction, right? This is the page, Advanced Audit and Assurance, AAA CBE introduction. I'm just sharing the hyperlink of this with all of you. You must have got the hyperlink, right? You come to this page where you have everything you need to know about the AAA CBE, right? So on this page about AAA CBE introduction, you scroll down the page, and when you scroll down the page, you have wonderful resources given by ACCA. The first is an on-demand webinar, Get Ready for AAA CBE. You can register for this on-demand webinar, and you can start to watch this in the next 24 hours, right? So I would prefer that all of you get registered for this on-demand webinar and start to watch this on-demand webinar in the next 24 hours. That's number one. Number two, there are some very good videos on the practice platform, which ACC has published. If you just click on the CBE practice platform videos and you get to the next page right here, see CBE practice platform, and there are so many good videos which ACCA has put here, almost like 5 videos. I hope you can see the 5 boxes in front of your screen. These are 5 videos. Introduction to the practice platform, using the blank workspace, assigning content to yourself, managing your workspace, and finally using the scratch pad. So wonderful videos if you want to get yourself aware of the practice platform. So ACCA has provided you good amount of resources on how you should be preparing for the AAA CBE. Then there is a document, Strategic Professional CBE Platform Guidance Document. I'll be showing you this guidance document in my session today because it's a wonderful guidance document. It has also been included in the resources today, right? If you can see the handouts in front of your screen, in the handouts, you will see that this Strategic Professional CBE Platform Guidance document has been included in the resources, and I'll be sharing this handout with you shortly over the screen. This is the handout, right? CBE Guidance, Strategic Professional, SPR, AFM, APM, ATX, and AAA. All the rules and regulations about a computer-based exam is in this document. So it's better you start reading this document, right? Okay, moreover, there is the AAA CBE question practice, and there is a basic spreadsheet and word processing support. So lots of resources which you can click and explore as a student, and I believe you will, right? Now, how would you log into the practice platform? You go down. Sorry, you come to this page right in front of you, which is the CBE question practice platform. I'm sharing the hyperlink of this page as well. This is the hyperlink. I've shared the hyperlink, right? The CBE question practice ACCA practice platform in front of your screen. You go down and you can see over here, log into the practice platform. Can all of you see this? Log into the practice platform. Can you just confirm me? Can you all see this? Log into the practice platform. Okay, good. You click on this log into the practice platform. And the moment you click on login to the practice platform, a window will appear in front of you, which will ask you your ACCA ID and password, your My ACCA login, right? So you will enter through your My ACCA login. So the moment you click on to it, log into the practice platform, you will see a window asking your ACCA registration number and password, which is the one you use for My ACCA. Is that clear to all of you? Please confirm that. So you provide your login, your My ACCA login, and you will come to a screen which looks like this. Can you look at the screen? This is now, after you log in, you will come to this screen. I hope you must have seen the screen before entering the webinar today. And if you're not, look at the screen for the first time. Once you log in, you come here. Can you see this screen, everyone? Assigned material on the left hand side, and can you see a catalog coming on the right hand side, everyone? Please confirm that. Okay, that's great. Now, when you look at the right hand side of the screen, can you see the catalog? And in the catalog, you can see all the papers: advanced audit and assurance, advanced financial management, advanced performance management, right? Now we are clicking on the first paper, right, which is advanced audit and assurance. Now, if I click on the first catalog, advanced audit and assurance, you can see a plus sign. I'll click on the advanced audit and assurance and the plus sign, and it goes down this way. We have a blank workspace. We have the AAA International, we have AAA Ireland, and we have AAA UK. Obviously, I'm teaching the AAA International, so I'll click on the AAA International. If you are appearing for AAA UK exams, then you will click on the AAA UK. The way of practicing remains the same, only a bit of change in the paper format, right? So I hope you can see over here the drop down menu, and in the drop down menu, you have a blank workspace. You have AAA International, you have AAA Ireland, and you have AAA UK. Right now, what I will be demonstrating today is the blank workspace, and I will be demonstrating the international. I have no concern with Ireland and UK. You can explore that on your own if you're going with that. Okay, now once you click on the uh, other parts of it, okay, now first of all, I click on international to see the past papers. Now, once you click on the international, you will see the ACC official resources. You click on the ACC official resources and you come with past exams and specimen exams. How many past exams have ACC provided you to practice on the platform? 1, 2, 3, 4. So you have 4 past exams: December 18, March, June 19, September 18, and September, December 20. So 4 exams have been provided to you by ACCA to practice on the platform. And then there is a specimen exam, which is the AAA International Specimen. So how many total exams you have which you can practice on the platform? In total, 5. The 4 past exams and the 1 specimen exam. Is everyone clear on that? So how many past exams can you practice on the platform to improve your typing speeds and to understand the platform? 5. And 5 is not a bad number, right? 5 is not a bad number to get good on the practice platform. And if any past exam is not available on the practice platform, then you can use the blank workspace. I'll be guiding you about the blank workspace shortly, but currently I'm guiding you about the 5 exams which are available on the ACCA practice platform before I give you a guidance about the blank workspace. Okay, let's start with any one of the paper. Okay, suppose you start with the March, June 19 exams, or you start with September, December 19 exams. First of all, you have to click on the button assign. The moment you click on the button assign, the paper will be assigned to you. And where will you see the assigned paper? It will go on the left hand side of the screen. Can you see the left hand side of the screen over here, which says self-assigned material? Self-assigned material. So the moment you click on the paper and you say assign, it will come on the left hand side of the screen under the self-assigned material. Is that clear to all of you? Right? And then you can click on it and start. Let me demonstrate that. Let me demonstrate you that, right? Okay, so suppose uh, I start with the September-December 2020 paper. I click on it, assign. The moment I assign it, it will come on the left-hand side of my screen. I'll scroll down and see where the paper is. And I believe over here the paper is the September-December 20 paper, and it says resume because I was already working on it. If you assign the paper, it will say start because I was already working on it prior to the webinar. So it says resume where I left. But if you do it, it will say start. So this is your assigned paper, September, December 20. You click on resume or you click on start and you come to the practice platform. Right, this is the screen in front of you, the practice platform screen. It says section A and it tells you about the section A in front of your screen. Now understand one thing. When you open the practice platform at home, you will see the instruction screen in front of you, and the instructions are given for the students to read. In the exam, you have 10 minutes to read the instructions. In total, you have 205 minutes, in which 10 minutes is for the instructions and 195 minutes is for your paper, which is the normal time you had in the pen and paper exams, the 195 minutes, right? So when you read the instructions, in 10 minutes you read the instructions. Please ensure that when you're practicing at home, read the instruction screens carefully so you are habitual of instructions before you enter the actual exams. Now, once you complete the instruction screens, you will come to the screen which is in front of you, which is section A. And it says the section 1 consists of one question for 50 marks. And you all know that, right? And it says, it says it says that show all notes and workings that you want the marker to see within your responses. Remember, any notes and working on the scratch pad will not be marked. So if you write anything on the scratch pad, it will not be marked. So you want to write your answer in the proper responses area given by the examiner. Now, you click on the next at the bottom of the screen and you come to the section A, the 50 marks question. It's just loading up. Okay, the question has been loaded up, right? This is the first question for 50 marks. Now look at the screen, look at the interface very, very carefully. Now, this is the first 50 marks question. You can see the left panel and you can see the right window. Can everyone see that? If you can be a bit quick to your responses now. Can you see the left panel and the right panel? Can you see the split of the screen, everyone? Okay, now let me demonstrate you that quickly. Now, when you come to your question number 1 for 50 marks, and you know that you should know how to go about reading it, right? That's very important. Now, let me make you familiar with that. First of all, when you enter the question number 1, the very first thing you need to read is what? The very first thing you will read is this. This should be your number first. This is basically known as the introduction. So the screen I've marked with a circle first is the screen you will be reading first, because this screen will tell you about who you are. This screen will tell you about the name of the audit firm. This screen will tell you about the name of the company of which you are the auditor. And this screen will tell you about the number of exhibits which have been provided to you. So this is an introductory screen. So you will read this first. Is everyone clear with the order? So the very first thing you will read is the screen on the right hand side, which I have circled and put first. Is that clear, everyone? Now, once you read the introductory screen, where will you go then? From here, you will jump to here. Number 2. Partner email. The partner email tells you about what you need to do for 50 marks. The partner email will tell you the requirement A, the requirement B, the requirement C, and the requirement D. I hope you're familiar with that even in the pen and paper exam. The partner email, which is the exhibit 1, used to tell you about what you need to do. So where will you go at number 2? The partner email. Now, once from the partner email, you know what to do, A, B, C, D, you will organize your briefing notes. You know, the answer for the question number 1 is to be given in a briefing note. Is that yes? Is that no? Right? So once you know from the partner email what you need to do, you will come down and you will organize your briefing note. I will be demonstrating that shortly, right? 1, 2, 3. So once you read the partner email, you will come to the briefing note, the response option here. You will come to the response option here, the briefing notes, and you will start to set up your briefing note in terms of the partner email. Now, once you've set up the briefing note in the response option, now you need to write an answer. Now, to write an answer, you have to read the exhibits here. Exhibit 2, 3, 4, which is basically the case. So you will read the exhibit 2, 3, 4 at number 4th. Because the exhibits number 2, the exhibit number 3, the exhibit number 4 will help you find the answer you will be filling up in the briefing note. And if the examiner has asked you to perform the analytical procedure, then you need to use the spreadsheet. There is a very minimal use of spreadsheet in AAA. I will be guiding you about that on my day 2 tomorrow. I will be demonstrating the use of the spreadsheets tomorrow on day 2, but there is a very minimal use. Only if a question asks you to perform an analytical procedure, then only you are using a spreadsheet for 5 to 10 minutes only. But if a question doesn't ask you to perform an analytical procedure, then the spreadsheet is a useless document to be used in a AAA paper. Is that clear? And how to use a spreadsheet for 5 to 10 minutes and what are you putting in the spreadsheet, I will be guiding you about that in my day 2 tomorrow when I take on a risk question, which is the question number 1. Is that clear? So is everyone clear with the first, second, third, fourth order? So what are you reading first in the exam? Can all of you give me the answer? What are you reading first in the exam? The left window or the right window? The intro page, which is the left window or the right window? Perfect, right window. Okay, from the right window, where will you go? Number 2. What will you read at number 2? The partner email. And from the partner email, where will you go? To the briefing notes, and then from that you go to the background information. Why are you not reading the requirements here? Why are you not reading the requirements? Because it simply tells you that 46 marks are in the partner email and 4 marks is for the briefing note. So that's useless to read the requirement, because the requirement is just telling you there are 46 technical marks and 4 professional marks, and you are already aware of that. You know the partner email contains the 46 technical marks, and when you write the answer in a briefing note format, you get the 4 professional marks. So it's just a waste of time that you click on the requirement and read it. So it's better just read the partner email and start your answer. Is that clear to everyone? Let me demonstrate you that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll demonstrate the same to you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Okay, let's go down with 1, 2, 3, 4 before I give you the break. Okay, now please watch it carefully. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now see, I'm a student like you. I come to the exam hall. I open up the question number 1, and in front of my screen, I have the question number 1, right? Now, in the question number 1, I open up, just 1 minute. Okay. I open up my introductory page, which is in front, and I start to read it. It tells me it is the 1st of July. You are a manager. So that's an important information. You are a manager. So I put a highlighter here. I click on the highlighter. I press the yellow button and you are a manager in the audit department of Pegasus Company. Okay. Pegasus Company is the audit firm. So I highlight Pegasus Company. A firm of chartered certified accountant. You are assigned to the audit of the Crux Group. Okay, the Crux Group is my company of which I am the auditor. I highlight that in yellow, which has a financial year end of 30th of September. So the year end of the company is 30th of September. That's an important information. And a more important information is it's a listed company. So I highlight that. So that's the only way you can annotate in a computer-based exam. So I am a manager in Pegasus for Crux Group, and 30th September is the year end and it's a listed company. Pegasus was appointed auditor to the group in January 20x5. So this is the first year audit. You were appointed in January 20x5 and the year end is 30th of September 20x5. So is this the first year audit, everyone? So is that an important information I should be highlighting? Can you all recognize this is the first year audit? January 20x5 and 30th September 20x5. So have we been appointed for the first time? Definitely. Okay. The group operates in a travel industry. Okay. So they are part of the travel industry. Let's highlight that, the nature of the business. And they're offering worldwide tours and fleets of 20 cruise ships. The group operates 3 brands, which provides different types of cruise experience. So the group have 3 brands and the 3 brands provides different sort of cruise experience. So they are into the travel business, right? The leisure industry. The following exhibits available on the left-hand side of the screen provides relevant information. So the following exhibits, where are the exhibits? On the left-hand side of the screen, right? Exhibit 1, 2, 3, 4 on the left-hand side of the screen. Now, I hope if you're familiar with the AAA paper, every time the first exhibit has to be a partner email. Is that true? Is that false? Every time the first exhibit has to be a partner email because the partner email contains the requirements. So you will read the partner email because it will give you the requirements. Then the second exhibit every time in the exam paper will be a background information because the background information will tell you about the Crux group, the problems relating to Crux group, the risk relating to the Crux group. So if you want to find the audit risk and the risk of material misstatement, bulk of your answer will come from the background information. Then you have the selected financial informations. I hope you know that the selected financial information is the most common exhibit in the AAA paper, and you can find a lot of risk from financial information. I hope you hold that as true. And mostly, the last exhibit, whatever the last exhibit is, whether it is a 4 or whether it is a 5, the last exhibit always is about a specific requirement. This last exhibit every time in the AAA paper, whether it is number 4 or it is number 5, it is about a very specific requirement which is given in the partner email. It is about a specific requirement given in the partner email. So normally examiner puts the exhibit 4 or exhibit 5 for a very specific requirement, but the first exhibit is about the requirements. The second and third exhibit is about finding the audit risk and the risk of material misstatement or the business risk. And the fourth or fifth exhibit is about a particular requirement in the partner email. How much time you believe will you be spending on reading this introduction in exam? 2 to 3 minutes? Is that fine with this highlighting option yellow? If you practice, is that possible in exam to do it in like 2 to 3 minutes? And using the highlighters, is highlighter effective way of annotation? Because that's the only way you can annotate in a computer-based exam, right? You cannot write on the screen. In the session, I'm writing on the screen, but that's not part of the computer-based exams. The only thing part of the computer-based exam is the is the highlighter. Okay, now once you read with the first screen, you come to the screen on the left and you start to read the exhibits. Okay, now I know I'm the manager and I know I am representing Pegasus and my audit client is Crux and we're doing the first year audit. Okay, now I come to the partner email. Now, the moment I open the partner email, this is my requirement. I open the window. I can move the window anywhere. I can move the window left, right, up, down, wherever you want to put it. So I put the window here and I start to read it, what is given in the window. I can increase the size of the window if you want to. I can reduce the size of the window if you want to. So that's all the options you have here, right? Now I start to read the window. It says to the manager from Norma Star, the audit engagement partner, subject audit planning for the Crux group, date is the 1st of July. Hello, I have provided you with some information which you would use in planning the audit of the new client. So it's very clear over here. It's a new client. And the Crux group, which the financial year end is 30th of September. So the partner is writing the email to the manager and the partner likes the manager to start the planning of the new client. I require you to prepare a briefing note. So it's very clear over here that you want to write the answer in a briefing note format. That's the standard format of the AAA paper. And what you need to do in the briefing note. How many things you need to do in the briefing note? A, can you see this A over here? Then you want to do the B in the briefing note, whatever the B is. Then you want to do the C in the briefing note. Now see, can you see over here using the information in exhibit 4? Is the examiner telling you that the answer for C and D is in the exhibit 4? So are you very clear that the Exhibit 4 is being developed for a particular requirement? So that means I will only be reading the Exhibit 4 for requirement C and D, but I will be reading the Exhibit 2 and 3 for requirement A and B. Is that right, everyone? Right? So you read the right-hand side of the screen in just 2 to 3 minutes, right, Gohar? And then after 2 to 3 minutes reading of the right-hand side of the screen, you start coming to the partner email and you start to read the partner email. Now, how many requirements I need to do in the partner email? A, B, C, D. But for the C and D requirement, I have a specific exhibit. And the moment I read the partner email, now what should I do? I open my briefing notes immediately. See, the briefing note comes in front of my screen. I put this window in front of my partner email. Now, briefing note. Now, understand, this is like a word processor, the briefing note, where I need to put my answer. Rabia, I'm just coming down to your answer, right? Uh, you open up the briefing note, and in the briefing note, you need to write the briefing note. You can increase the size of the font to write up the answer. Can you see this paragraph option here? My cursor on the paragraph, I click on the paragraph, and there are so many ways I can format my answer. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4. Can you all see that? So the heading 1 is very big size of heading, so I don't like it. But I normally recommend students to use the heading 2. Heading 2 is a very appropriate size of writing answer. So I click on the heading 2 in the paragraph and I write over here briefing brief briefing note. And under the briefing note, I'll say to, from, subject, or you can just say to, from, subject, date, and you come to introduction. I hope you know all these formats: introduction, and the briefing note ends with a conclusion. And how many things I need to do in the briefing note? Anyone remembers that? A, B, C, and D. See how easy that is to format the briefing note in a computer-based exam as compared to a pen and paper exam. I just put a heading briefing note. I say to, from, subject, date, introduction, A, B, C, D, conclusion. Now, as I start to fill up, the space will automatically be created. If you're doing this in a pen and paper exam, you're not sure of the space. But if I'm writing on a computer, I'm writing the answer for A, the B will shift down. If I'm writing the answer for B, the C will shift down automatically, right? So is it easier to put a format to, from, subject, date, introduction, A, B, C, D, and conclusion? Right? So is that format clear? Now to, see how easy the to is. You come back to the partner email. Can you see the screen in the backdrop partner email? Yes, you need to label ABCD, right? You come back to the partner email, copy paste, such an important feature of a computer based exam. Okay, to whom are we writing the email? Are we writing the briefing note to the partner or the manager? Partner, right? So to, can I copy the name of the partner from the briefing note? Norma Star Audit Engagement Partner, Control C, and I come here to, and in the to, I say Control V. See how easy that is? I see the Control C, I come here, Control V. You can use the shortcuts, Control C, Control V. See, I need not to type the name of the partner. Now from, who is the from here? The from will become the manager, opposite. So I say Control C, I come to the word processor, and in the word processor, I say Control V, manager. Subject, the subject will not change. So I go back to the partner email, I copy the subject, audit planning for Crux Group. I Control C that. I come back to the briefing note and I say Control V. Is that fine? Date. I copy the date, Control C, 1st of July, 20x5 because it was given. Control C. I come back to the briefing note and I say Control V. See how easy that is? I need not to type anything. I'm just saying Control C and Control V. Introduction and conclusion. Now, what's the introduction? I need to write the introduction, right? I say the purpose of writing. Yes, you can write RE as well. You can write subject, you can write RE, both are fine. The purpose of writing this briefing note, is to No, if the date is not given, then you will not write the date. The date was given, so I write the date. If the date is not given, please don't write any dates in the exam paper. Because it was given, so I write it. Is that clear? Rohit? Okay, that's great. Moving on. Introduction. The purpose. The purpose of writing this briefing note. Can I make this briefing note presentable? Yes, sometimes the examiner gives you a date in the briefing note, so write it. Sometimes the examiner don't give you a date in the briefing note, then don't write it, right? See, I can do Control B, bold. 2, I can see Control B. I can say Control B. You can do so much good formatting in the computer-based exam. Control B. I hope you know the shortcut keys. Control C, Control V. Control B for making something bold. Control U for underlining something, right? You should be familiar with that, right? Okay, now the purpose of writing the briefing note. What is my purpose of writing the briefing note? Can anyone tell me? Is that ABCD? Is that ABCD? The purpose of writing the briefing note, ABCD, right? So the purpose of writing the briefing note, what? Number one, I can copy the A from here. The purpose of writing the briefing note is to evaluate the audit risk. Control C, Control C. I come back to the Word file and I say the purpose of writing the briefing note is to Control V, evaluate the audit risk, comma. I go back to my partner email. Number B, design the principal procedures. Design the principal procedures to be performed on segmental information. Control C. I come back to my briefing note and I say Control V. So see how easy that is? The purpose of writing this briefing note is to evaluate the audit risk, design the principal audit procedures on the segmental information. Again, I put a comma. Next, what else I need to do? Number C, evaluate the matters to consider in deciding whether Pegas and company should accept the engagement. Control C, and I come back here on my briefing note and I say Control V. I should make E small, evaluate the matters, and finally, and the last requirement from the partner email, respond to my request regarding the use of data analytics to enhance audit efficiency. Use of data analytics to enhance audit efficiency is the last requirement. Control C, and I come back to my word processor and I say and this, full stop. See how easy was it to write the purpose introduction? I just copied the requirements from the question and pasted over here in a summarized manner, right? Not the full requirements. So Control C and Control V, right? Is that clear, everyone? So is there a efficiency factor if you practice with Control C and Control V? No, spelling mistakes is not an issue, right? Spelling mistakes is not an issue. ACCA has made that clear so many times that you're not penalized for grammar and spelling, right? Fine. If you want to if you want to increase the font size, you can just select this. You can just select things from here like this. You put your cursor here, you go to the paragraph and you set a bigger heading. See how big the font size has become now. To from subject date. But again, that's to me is an inappropriate font size to write in an exam paper. So you can use a smaller font size like heading 2. Heading 2 is much better to write. So you can increase the font size of your write-up, right? Okay, so now do I know what I need to write in A, B, C, D? Can I just copy paste that in A, B, C, D here quickly? So what is to be done in A? Evaluate the audit risk. Control C. I put it here. Control V. Okay, what I need to do in B? Design the principal audit procedure. So I Control C from here and I put it over here. What I need to do in C? Matters to consider whether to accept the engagement. Control C and I put that in C. And in the last, I need to tell the use of data analytics. C, Control C and Control V. See how I have structured my answer. And conclusion. Conclusion I will write at the end of the answer. See how easy is it to format the briefing note even before starting it. Now you exactly know what you need to do in A, B, C, D, and you will start reading the requirement. You will start reading the exhibits now, and you will keep filling up the answer. But how easy is to structure a briefing note in a computer-based exam? Tell me about it. With a control C and a control V, moving between the partner email and the briefing notes. Yes, it is very essential to mention A, B, C, D because that's very important, because when your marker is marking your paper, he knows which requirement is being marked. No, we're not repeating the requirements. In the introduction, you're writing the purpose, that my purpose is to do this, 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 this. And under that, you're writing your answer. The answer for A, the answer for B, the answer for C, the answer for D. That's the format of the briefing note, right? You cannot do anything with that. So is everyone clear with control C and control V and the benefits of that? Is everyone clear that after you read the partner email, it will just take 5 minutes to formulate a skeleton briefing note. So have I made a skeleton briefing note? Will that help me now to fill up my answer? Yes, you can do the undo and redo. You have the shortcut keys for undo and redo as well. All the shortcut keys is given in this document, which I've shared with you, right? The CBE guidance. You can see that in front of your screen. When you go down this document, all the shortcut keys are given over here, which you can use in the computer-based exams. If I can show you that over here, they have given you a table of all the shortcut keys, which you can use. See, on the page number 5, they've given you all the shortcut keys you can use. So you can just learn them from here. Can you see this table? Control X, cut, Control C, copy, Control V, paste, Control Z, undo, Control Y, redo, right? Is the shortcut keys. So please read this document, which I have shared with you, because this is the wonderful document which tells you about things you can use as shortcut keys, right? Exactly. The CBE saves your time, right? Because you have a copy paste version, which is not in the pen and paper exams. Okay, let's come back to my demonstration. Okay, now first you read the right panel. Now even once I write the answer on a briefing note and I put a cross over here, everything you wrote will not be deleted, right? It's only the window will go off the screen. So once I formulate my briefing note and I know what I need to do in the briefing note, I simply put a cross and the briefing note goes off my screen. And requirements. I've read the partner email, right? So no need to keep the partner email in front of my screen. So I've simply put a cross so the partner email goes. See, my workspace becomes neat and clean. It's just like you're working on a laptop at home and you open and close the windows, right? So I've closed the window. Now, after the partner email, I fill up my briefing notes, right? Was the examiner asking you to perform the analytical procedures as part of audit risk? So is there any need of a spreadsheet in this question number 1? Yes, the answer automatically saves, right? The answer is being automatically saved. So no worries that your answer will be lost, right? So is there any need for a spreadsheet to be used here? Because there was no analytical procedures here, right? So no need to use the spreadsheets in this paper. Cross. Only the answer will be made on the briefing notes, right? But tomorrow in my day 2, I will be demonstrating you a question in which I will be guiding you about how you use the spreadsheet if asked for in a AAA paper. So I purposely choose the question for my session tomorrow, in which I will be illustrating you the briefing notes. The spreadsheet. Okay, let's come back to the last thing before the break. Okay. Now, after that, you read the background information. You open the window of the background information and you start reading information from background. If you want to copy anything from the background information and you think, oh, I found a risk, and you want to copy that risk in the briefing notes. This is, for example, in the partner email, it was mentioned it is a new audit client, and we were writing audit risk. Now you are writing audit risk, and you know it is a new audit client. So I copy paste new client from here. Copy paste the new client from here in the partner email. I go to the briefing note, and under my evaluate the audit risk, have I found my first audit risk number 1? Copy paste new client. And will I write the answer under this? Crux company is the new audit client. Is the new audit client, which means that Pegasus will have less knowledge of business, initially, will have less knowledge of business initially, which will increase the detection risk, because I'm doing the question on the audit risk, which will increase the detection risk in the first year audit. Full stop. Further, being the first year audit, there is an additional risk. There is an additional risk of material misstatements in the opening balances. Material misstatements in the opening balances. I've guided this so many times in my previous webinars that the risk associated with the first year audit. Is that clear to everyone? So the new client, right? So the moment I found a risk, I'll copy that into my evaluate the audit risk and I start writing the answer. So Control C and Control V will make your answers so easy. Is everyone clear with how I found the new client? How I copy paste new client from the partner email? Control B, and I put number 1 and I start writing the answer. Is that clear to everyone? Right, then you find the number 2, you go down, you find the number 2, you can put the numberings from here, number 2. No, spelling corrections will not be available. You're not worried about spelling corrections. Just ignore that. In a computer-based exams, you're just typing your answer. Be watchful of your spellings, but if you do spelling mistakes, some of them, it's not an issue, right? So that's how you fill up the briefing notes. And you read the exhibits, you copy paste from the exhibits, and you can just simply cross the window when you're not using it in context, right? Now, a few of the last things before I give you the break. Calculator. If you want to use a calculator for finding materiality, you will click on the calculator. See, I click on the calculator, a calculator comes in front of me. No, you cannot use Grammarly. I just used it because it was by default in my laptop. But in the computer-based exams, you cannot. Just ignore that, right? Just ignore that. So you are just not concerned about spelling and grammar mistakes, right, Rohit? Yes, CBEs are auto-saved. Whatever you write is saved. So can you see this calculator in front of the screen? I press the button calculator and it comes to me. You can change the mode of the calculator. See, I'll click here and it comes to standard mode. I don't need a scientific calculator for the AAA paper, so I can have this standard calculator and I can calculate the materialities. Anything I want to calculate, I can calculate here and write my answer. But can you use your own calculator in the computer-based exams? The answer is yes. Can you have your own calculator? The answer is yes. So if you're not comfortable with the on-screen calculator, can you carry your own calculator? Yes, you can carry your own calculator. So whether you are giving a computer-based exam at a center or you're giving a computer-based exam under a remote invigilation, you can have your own calculator with you. So if you're comfortable with your own calculator, don't be worried about using the on-screen calculator. Is that clear to all of you? And it's given over here, right? It's given in the document I've shared with you. See this document I shared with you, the guidance document. And in this guidance document, ACCA has made this very clear about the calculator. I don't know why you don't read these documents. It is not made for a tutor, it's made for the students. And still you don't read these documents. So the problem is with the students, right? The problem is not with ACCA. See this. Can you see this page number 12 in front of you? Can you read this calculator paragraph yourself in 1 minute, everyone, and tell me you understood this? Can you read this calculator bullet number 1 in a paragraph quickly and tell me you've read it? Yes, you can calculate things on the spreadsheet as well, Manzoor, but I would not prefer you use a spreadsheet unless you are asked to perform the analytical procedure. If you are doing the materiality calculations, just simply do them on a calculator. So can you take your own calculator in the exam? Is ACC giving you a permission of that, everyone? So have your stress level gone down? Okay, good. The last thing, another very frequently asked question. Look at this. Can you just read this paragraph in front of your screen, this one? So this is a frequently asked question. Even Rabia was asking this question a couple of minutes ago. Please read this bullet and tell me, have you understood this? Will you be provided the rough papers in exam centers? Right? Is that clear? So will you be given papers for any rough workings if you're comfortable with that and you want to scribble something on a paper and then write on the screen? Okay, that's great. That's great. So will you read this document? Will you read this document for every frequently asked questions you have? Will you make a habit of reading this document today at the end of the session, everyone, which I've shared with you? So every question you want to ask is given in this document, whether I can use the calculator or not, whether I will be given the rough papers or not. Yes, yes, yes. You can use the calculator even in a remote invigilated exams, right? But for the papers in a remote invigilation, sometimes the proctor allows you to use a paper if you can show him the paper and show him that it's a neat and clean paper. And sometimes the proctor don't give you the permission of using the papers in a remote invigilated exams. But if you are giving a computer based exam in a center, then you are allowed to use a paper as well. Is that clear to everyone? So there is some problems between a remote invigilated computer based exam and a center based computer based exam, right? Is that clear? So last things. Okay, so calculator, is there a need to use a calculator in a computer based exams on the screen? If you're comfortable having your own calculator, is that fine? So I think calculator is not a big problem, right? Whether it's a remote invigilated exam or it's a center based exam, right? So there's no big need for a calculator. Whatever you want to copy and paste, I would prefer that you copy and paste that in the briefing note where you're writing the answer, because anything you write on a scratch pad will not be marked. So instead of you copy first on a scratch pad and then from a scratch pad you copy to a word processor, will take a lot of time. So it's better that you directly copy paste on a briefing note. Ismail, it's totally up to you. Some students are very comfortable using an on-screen calculator, like myself, and some students are not very comfortable using an on-screen calculator. So once you practice in the next 10-15 days, you will find your own answer. So in the next 10 to 15 days, you will find an answer. Should I use an on-screen calculator? No. Yes. Should I take my own calculator? Yes. No. So every student will be flexible, right? After 10 to 15 days of practice on the practice platform. But start practicing on the practice platform, right? That's very important. So one option is calculator, which is flexible among students. You can have your own, you can use the one on the screen. Okay, I've already given you the importance of highlighting things, the order of reading the screen. What will you read first? What will you read second? What will you read third? The shortcut keys, Control C, Control V, Control Z, Control Y, undo, redo, uh, copy, paste. Control B is the bold. You can make things bold. Strike through function is not used. If you want to cut something off, you wrote something mistakenly and you don't want the examiner to read it, you can just strike through that. But again, that's not a very common function used in a computer-based exams. You can, if you write something and you don't want examiner to read that, and you're just into the last 1 minute of the exam, you can just cross through it, strike through it, or you can just you can just delete that paragraph with the backspace. Is that clear to all of you? So that's the window in front of you, right? Once you complete the question number 1, you can see the next button. You press the next button, you go to the question number 2 then. In the same manner, you will read the question number 2. You come to the section B, and in the section B, you have the question number 2. You click the next button. You come to the section question 2, which is loading. Okay, you come to the question 2. Again, you read the right-hand side of the screen first, and then you go down reading the requirements, what you need to do, and then you start reading the exhibits. Now, when you come to the question number 2, again, the order will remain same. You will first read this screen, number 1. Then you will go down and read the requirements. It's different from the question number 1, right? In the question number 1, I just directly mentioned read the partner email. In over here, I'm telling you to read the requirements because this is not a briefing note. This is not an email, right? So requirement A for 15 marks and requirement B for 10 marks, you'll open them up and see what you need to do in the requirement A and B. And after you've read the requirements, you will plan your answer in the word processor. You will plan your answer in the word processor. Number two, you will read the requirements. Number three, you will plan your answer in the word processor. And number fourth, you will read the exhibits to make up your answer. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4 clear? And I'm demonstrating that once and giving you a break. First, you read the right panel in question 2 and question 3. Then you read the requirements number 2. Then you plan your answer on a word processor. And then you start reading the exhibits to make up an answer. This is the 1, 2, 3, 4 for question number 2 and 3. Right. And Manzoor, I'm just coming to your question in next 5 minutes. Okay, just let me demonstrate that in 5 minutes and we're taking a break then. And a lot more to understand on a computer-based exams. I cannot just fit everything on day 1. I still have day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, where I will be demonstrating numerous aspects of the computer-based exams. So don't be worried about it. In the next 15 hours, you will all be perfect on handling the computer-based exams. Okay, now first, you will read the screen, right? You read the screen first. And after you've read the screen, you come to the requirements. You open the requirement A and you say, what exactly is the requirement A? The requirement A asks you to comment on the quality of planning and performance of the audit of the river company, discussing the quality control, ethical and other professional issues raised and recommend appropriate actions to be taken. So basically you want to discuss the quality control, ethical and other professional issues and recommend appropriate actions. So that's the requirement, discussing the issues and recommending actions. So I press Control C and I take it on my word processor. On my word processor, I open my word processor and write over here, heading number 2, A, requirement A, and I press Control V. So this is my first requirement, and I can even put in bracket 15 marks so I know how much to write when I'm writing the answer on my word processor. Then I come back to my requirement B. I open the requirement B window. And requirement B is evaluate the matters to be considered before Welford accepts the audit of Broadway Group. So I copy the requirement B, evaluate the matters to accept the audit of the Broadway Group, Control C, 10 marks. I come back to my word processor and I give some space. I come with here B and I put my B requirement here and I put in bracket 10. So this is the second thing I'm doing after reading the requirements. Third thing, sorry. First, I read the right side of the window. Then I read the requirements. And after reading the requirements, I come down with the word processor. Now, have I planned my format on the word processor? Do I know what I need to do in A and B? So in A, can I put over here issues and actions? I know I need to write issues and actions in A and in the answer A. So I can just format my word processor before I start reading the exhibits. All of you, is that fine? And in the second way, I need to evaluate the methods that should be considered before Welford accepts the audit of Broadway. So I just put over here methods as a heading. And whatever methods I get from the exhibits, I'll keep copy pasting those methods over here. So is it better that before you read the exhibits, you just make a layout of the answer? Yes, in a computer-based exams, you can just copy the question and paste it in your word processor as a standard header of your question, and then you start answering under. See, I just made 2 bifurcations of question: issues, underline; actions, underline. So I know I have to do 2 things. So this is exactly what you can do in a computer-based exams, right? That's easier. So ACCA recommend that you can copy the question right in a computer-based exams, making your life easier. Yes, that's fine. You can combine 2 issues together and write 1 action. But I'm just formulating a skeleton structure, right? Not necessarily you stick to it. Is not everyone clear with number 1, 2, 3? Once you read the right panel, then you come reading the requirements. Number 2, then you come putting a structure in the word processor. Then knowing what you need to do, you open up, you close all the unnecessary windows and you come to exhibits. You open the exhibit number 1 and you start reading the exhibit number 1. You can enlarge the size of the exhibit number 1. If you want to zoom that out, you can zoom it so that it looks big on your screen. Now you start reading the exhibit number 1. Suppose you get a point in exhibit number 1 which you believe is a ethical issue or a professional issue, you can just simply copy paste it from here, Control C, and you go down back to your word processor and you say, oh, I found an issue. I'm just giving you an example, right? You copy paste here and you say, okay, this is an issue, and you start writing it ahead. You can take some sentence from the case and you then elaborate that sentence by developing that sentence into 2 to 4 sentences. So I think Control C and Control V will help you uh, between the case study and the word processor. So you can copy lots of things from the case study and you can bring them on a word processor and you can develop your point. So I think that can make your life easier, right? So if you find an issue in a case study, you will copy that issue from a case study to a word processor, and you will then explain that issue in your own words later. Is that clear? So can you switch? Can you use the copy paste from the case study to the word processor? So is that possible? So can you copy from the exhibits? Can you copy from the requirements? Can you paste things from the requirements and exhibits to the response options? Right? So have you got some knowledge of the interface of the computer-based exams, the functionalities, how to go about using it? Have you got something in the last 30 to 40 minutes? And still you have 15 hours of this webinar going on, and every day you will learn something new about a computer-based exam, and over the 15 hours you will be perfect. So uh, will you start using the platform from today or in the next 24 hours? And this is not the end of it is not the end of my guidance on the practice platform. This is just the day one, and there's still a lot of guidance coming your way, right? So please ensure you know how to use the highlight option, you know how to use the calculator, whether you want to use it or not. You know the order of reading the right panel and the left panels. You know how to Control C and how to Control V, how to increase the font size, which are basic commands in the AAA paper. Because most of the time in the AAA paper, you are using a word processor, and you should be very good on word processor. You should know the shortcut keys which are given in this PDF document. Please make a habit of reading this PDF document today. This PDF document is a wonderful document which guides you about all the basic rules and regulations you should be knowing about the computer-based exams, everything which I was guiding you. They also tells you about how you can open the window, close the window, how you can decrease the size of the window, how you can increase the size of the window, and it also tells you about the shortcut keys. So it's a pretty good document provided you give time to it, right? Okay, I'm now taking a break and we'll continue on this agenda of the computer based exams even on the day 2 tomorrow and day 3, day 4, day 5. So I'll just make a summary of things we got today from the computer based exams after the break. And right after the break, I want to spend some reasonable time on the new article which is important. And even if time doesn't allow me to complete the new article today, don't be worried about it. Once I start my day 2 tomorrow, I'll connect the new article wherever I left today from tomorrow. So I'll complete the new article today, and if it is not possible to complete it today, I'll continue it in the day 2 tomorrow, and then we'll take on the day 2 agenda, right? So no need to rush and no need to panic. This is an important article and I need to spend a good amount of time on this article. So I'll make a summary of the CBE practice platform which we just did today so that you can start exploring it. And if I have missed out anything, don't be worried about it. You have another 12 hours after today where you will have an excellent approach towards the computer based exam, right? So I hope you liked the first part of the session today, and I'm giving you a break now. If you can drop in your feedback. It's like 10:20 in Pakistan, 10:20 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. So we'll come back at 10:35, right? 10:35 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. So it's a 15 minutes break. 10:35 p.m. Pakistan Standard Time. Please be back and I'll resume back with a new article. Has everyone taken the note? We have a break till 10:35. Let me put that in the chat box. Break till 10:35 p.m. I hope this message has gone to every one of you in your chat box, right? So I'm just muting myself, and please come back because we'll be exploring the new article right after the break. Stay tuned. I'm keeping a screen in front of you. If you get time during the break, please read the screen. This is just a summary of what I did with you in the last 30 minutes. So just go through the summary, and right after the break, I'll start the new article. Off to a break, everyone. And please drop the feedback of the overall session today, and much more to learn on the computer-based exams in the next 4 days to come. Thank you. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Just a confirmation from your side that you can all hear me, and it's loud and clear to all of you. Okay, that's great. So, welcome back after the break. We are into the day one of the Practice to Pass webinar for June 21 exams for Advanced Audit and Assurance, and I'm Kashif Kamran. Prior to the break, we were discussing the practice platform because in most of the countries, including Pakistan, the AAA will be a computer-based exam from June onwards. So it's very, very important that the students should try to log into the practice platform and start using it. I hope my session prior to the break must have given you the encouragement that you explore the practice platform as much as possible. But that's not the end. Every day uh, of this webinar, I will be spending some time on explaining you the features and the do's and don'ts of the practice platform. I will be drilling the past papers on the practice platform as much as possible so that by the end of the 15 hours, you have a good command of the practice platform and you start to do it. Because the more you practice on the platform, you will find the efficiency improving every day. And when you enter the actual exam, you will have a command on the functionalities of the platform. You will have the command on how to open a window and how to close a window, how to switch between windows, how to increase the size and how to decrease the size, how to copy paste, and everything. So the more you use them, the better for you, because that is something we refer again and again, that practice makes you perfect, right? I hope you got some encouragement at the start of the session today, and this encouragement will continue on day 2, day 3, day 4, and day 5. I will be guiding you about how to use Excel or a spreadsheet in a AAA exam, and what's the usage of a spreadsheet in AAA exam, when will you use it, and when will you not use it, and that is on day 2 tomorrow. And any other feature of the computer based exam which is beneficial for you, which you should be using as a student, I'll keep guiding you I will be guiding you about that from day 2 tomorrow up to day 5. But I hope the start we took today on the computer based exam, the practice platform, like a highlighter, scratch pad, calculator, using the word processor, the copy paste, and every such thing, I hope that must have helped you, right? All of you, to take a start. But that's not the end, right? That's not the end. We still need to explore a lot about computer based exams over the next few days. Is that clear, everyone? Okay, that's great. Now I'm moving towards my second agenda today, just keeping on hold the computer-based exams in the practice platform for tomorrow, and just want to spend some time on the new article which was published in April 2021. I hope you have seen this article on the website, and I just want to give you an idea about this new article, which I am again and again referring to. Uh, if you go to the AAA technical articles and you just type the AAA technical articles on Google, you will come to the first hyperlink. You click on the first hyperlink and you come to the AAA technical articles, right? So on the Google, write AAA technical articles, click on the first hyperlink, and you come to the technical articles of AAA. Now over here, if you just scroll down the technical articles, I've been guiding you about the articles which are in front of your screen every time in my webinar. But over here in these articles, there is a new article added up. You go down, leave the first article, leave the second, leave the third, leave the fourth, leave the fifth. Look at this sixth article right over here. If I can just make a bracket here. Look at this article. This is the article which is published in April 2021, and this is a new article. Can it be examined in the June 21 exams? It can be, it cannot be. But should you read it? Definitely, because you cannot just leave this article and enter the June 21 exams. So let's explore this article to an extent we can by the end of the time today at 11:30. And if something is left, we'll explore that at the start of the day 2 tomorrow. Right? So let's start the journey on the exposure draft and looking at the proposed revision to the code to promote the role and mindset of the professional accountant. So please download this article. This has already been provided to you in the handout section of the webinar. You can download it from the handout section, right? So that is already with you. Now, just moving back and exploring this article and taking on this article here. See, this is the article right in front of your screen. Exposure draft. Exposure draft means it's just a current issue. Exposure draft means this is not an affirmative thing, but this is in a phase of development. Proposed revisions to the code to promote the role and mindset expected of a professional accountant. Now, you all know professional accountant is a big term, right? Professional accountant even includes the auditors and even includes all the accountancy professions, So this is a wide proposals uh, promoting the role and promoting the mindset expected of a professional accountant. Now, what is in this proposals for a AAA student, and how a AAA student should look at this proposals for your exam perspective, and where you should be focusing on in this exposure draft? Obviously, you will be reading across the 7 pages over the next 2 days, 3 days. So you just download this exposure draft and you start to read it. You might understand something, you might not understand something, but the very first thing you have to do is that you scroll over the exposure draft and read every line and every paragraph of the exposure draft in like 3 to 4 hours and see how much you understand. Now, my purpose is to make you understand this exposure draft and to give you the right guidance where you should be focusing on in this exposure draft and what benefit will you get out of this exposure draft for your June 2021 exams, right? So what I have done is that instead of reading the article with you and just wasting time in this webinar, I have developed my own summary. And I think the summary has already been shared with you in the handout section. This is the summary which I have developed for my students. I hope you can see this in the handout section. The new AAA examining team article published in April 2020. Can you all confirm this is available in the handout section? Exposure draft, proposed revision to the code to promote the role and mindset expected of a professional accountant. This is a summary and an exam guidance by Kashif Kamran. So let's start the journey. Let's see what is the proposed revision to the code and what the proposed revision should mean to our AAA student. Okay, let's start on with the journey. Now, I try to make a summary over here, and I just want to read that with you. I believe this revision has come to the code, and code is the syllabus area B of your paper, and the syllabus area B of your paper is ethical and professional issues. Now, as part of your syllabus, as a AAA student, you should have an idea about the code of conduct, and the code of conduct is a syllabus area B. So I think this exposure draft is hitting the syllabus area B. And if it is examined, it will be examined in the context of the syllabus area B. So that's the very first sentence I have marked over here in my summary, that this exposure draft covers the numerous aspects which are examinable part of the syllabus area B of the AAA paper. And the AAA syllabus already includes ethical and professional issues. So the student should be well equipped with this exposure draft, and they should have an idea about the proposed changes which have come to the code of conduct. Right? So in terms of the placement of the question, Bahawal, it's too early. Examiner can put a question on this exposure draft anywhere in the section A or section B. We know syllabus area B is a flexible syllabus area, and being a flexible syllabus area, it can come in the question number 1, 2, or 3, anywhere. The bottom line is we should be prepared about the summary of this exposure draft, right? Wherever it gets tested in the exam paper. But in terms of the syllabus area, this is a syllabus area B. The next bullet, I just try to summarize what is the key message of the exposure draft. This exposure draft is covering numerous aspects relating to the professional accountant role. So that's one thing covered in this article, the role of the professional accountant. Public interest is another area covered in this exposure draft. concept of integrity has also been covered in this exposure draft. Objectivity has also been covered in this exposure draft. Uh, Professional behavior has been covered in the exposure draft, and inquiring mind has been covered in the exposure draft. Now, these are the terms which you are not listening for the first time: inquiring mind, professional behavior, objectivity, concept of integrity, public interest, professional accountant. These are not jargons which you are all listening for the first time. Am I right? But these are areas where changes have been brought in. These are areas where something has changed, and you should know that because it's an exposure draft. So, professional accountant role, public interest, concept of integrity, objectivity, professional behavior, and even inquiring mind. And not just that, the dangers of being biased and the internal culture of the firm. What is a danger that the accountant is biased? What sort of biasness is the article talking about? And you are all familiar with the word bias. And you know that whenever the auditor is biased, it is a threat to objectivity, right? And how can a culture of the firm contributes towards overcoming the danger of bias? And how can the culture of the firm overcomes uh, the concept of integrity? So how many things have been gone into this article? Just recap. Number one, the professional accountant role. Number two, the public interest. Number three, the concept of integrity. Number four, the objectivity. Number five, the professional behavior. Number six, the inquiring mind. Number seven, the danger of being biased. And number eight, internal culture of the firm. So these are the key learnings when you are reading across the 7-page article. Is that bullet number two clear to all of you? So I've just tried highlighting the areas which you need to touch upon and make a summary of when you're reading the actual article from the ACCA website. Is that clear? Can you respond to my question, everyone? Okay, that's great for understanding. Okay, now moving on. Next bullet. In the next bullet, I have made it clear several times that every time there is an exposure draft, will it be examined in the next exam sitting? The answer is yes and no, both. We have seen in the past practices of the examiner that every time a new article is published, it has been examined in the immediate next exam sitting. That is the practice of the examiner. But we have also seen that sometimes examiners skip the next exam sitting. Might be that he don't give you this exposure draft in the June exams and give you it in the September exams. But you cannot just go unprepared uh, about this article in the June exams. You still need to prepare it in an effective manner because it might come in June or it might come in September or might even come in December. Irrespective of that, this is a new article which you should which you should have on your fingertips. Okay, now the key 5 changes and the definition used and the terminologies introduced by the exposure drafts are potential to the AAA paper in the coming exam sittings in 2021, right? So when I read this article, so I try to summarize the changes into five changes. There are lots of definitions used, lots of terminologies used in this exposure draft, which I believe is a potential to a AAA student. Now, I tried making a summary of that in my document, and I will be reading through that summary and guiding you about the potential changes which have come in the exposure draft and why. Okay, let's get down to the background of this exposure draft. What is the reason of the background? What was the reason of the change? The background. There has been a growing demand on IESBA to strengthen the concept of professional skepticism. So there was a growing demand on IESBA to strengthen the concept of professional skepticism. Look at this word strengthen, because professional skepticism is not a new terminology, right? So it is nothing introduced. It's just to strengthen. It's just to strengthen the concept of professional skepticism. Number one. Number two, requiring all professional accountants to exercise it rather than solely the audit practitioner. I hope you will agree with me that whenever we use the professional skepticism, one thing which strikes our mind is the auditor. Am I right? But now what IESBA is doing, they want to broaden the concept of professional skepticism, not just to the auditor, but to every professional accountant. So do you understand the bullet number 2, requiring all professional accountants to exercise professional skepticism, not just the audit practitioner? Because before this, professional skepticism was a jargon confined to the audit practices. And you have a topic of professional skepticism, right, in the AAA paper. So is everyone clear with the background that what was the reason of introducing the changes in the code? Because there was a growing demand on IESBA to strengthen the concept of professional skepticism and to require all professional accountants to exercise it, not just the audit practitioner. If you're clear, let's move further. The proposed changes. Now, the proposed changes to the code of conduct have been given in a table below. So let's understand the proposed changes and let's understand one by one what a proposed change means to you as a AAA student, right? Now, you can see the table over here. And in this table, the column number 2 is the proposal areas. These are the proposal areas which IESBA has introduced, proposal areas. And under every proposal area, what is the proposed change is in the column number 3. Can you see this table clearly in front of your screen, everyone? The column number 2 is the proposal area, which you should know for your exams in June 21. And the column number 3 tells you about the proposed changes. Is that clear? Everyone can see that? So I'll pick every proposal area and I'll discuss with you the proposed changes. And if anything needs an elaboration, I will be giving you the elaboration. Now let's look at the first area of change. The first area of change is role and responsibility of a professional accountant. Role and responsibility of a professional accountant. You all know who is a professional accountant, right? The auditor is a professional accountant. Even any other role adopted by an accountant is a professional accountant, right? The professional accountants can be the management accountants, can be the financial accountants, can be the auditors, can be the internal auditors. So professional accountants can take different roles, right? Now, irrespective whatever role you are taking as a professional accountant, the code of conduct is highlighting your role and responsibilities as a professional accountant. Let's see what is the role and responsibility of a professional accountant. I'm using the short form here, PA. PA means the professional accountant. The professional accountants are involved in a wide range of roles and acknowledge that organization involves the professional accountant in these activities because they recognize the skill and value they bring to the activities they undertake. Do you believe professional accountants are involved in a wide ranges of role in an organization? Like internal auditors, like external auditors, like financial accountants, like financial consultants, like advisors, like management accountants? Are they involved in wide-ranging roles, professional accountants? And do they bring the right set of skills to the organization? Do they bring the right set of values to the organization where they work in? So do they make a contribution to the organization because of their skills and roles? Whether they're working as a management accountant or they're working as a financial accountant or they're working as an auditor or they're working as a tax consultant or they're working as a tax advisor, whatever. So they have a role, right? And they bring the right sets of skills and values to the organization. And that is what the organization really appreciates. In the bullet number 2, it tells us that the professional accountant should work in public interest. That's very important. The public interest. The professional accountant should work in the public interest and adhere to the code and all relevant laws and regulations in the discharge of the responsibility. Now, if you are a professional accountant in Pakistan, for example, you're not just adhering to the codes, the code of conduct, you're also adhering to your national laws and regulations. Now, that is the best discharge of your responsibilities. So, as a professional accountant, you should work in the public interest, right? So, the the the, the change which has been brought by the code is the definition of a professional accountant, is the clarity on the role of professional accountant, and is that the professional accountant should work in the public interest and should adhere to the code, because the code was not using the word professional accountant with clarity, right? Now the code is using the word professional accountant with clarity, and the code is recognizing the wider roles of the professional accountant with clarity. And the code is also recognizing that the professional accountant needs to work in a public interest, which is very important, and they should adhere to code. So there is a reinforcement, right? and there is a clarity on the role of a professional accountant and how this should work in the public interest. So the number one bullet, role and responsibility of a professional accountant, number one, if I can just take it down to my Word file I was using for the webinar today, and I can just construct my new article summary here. Okay, we're just discussing the new article, which is the exposure draft. And in this exposure draft, number one, something has been newly introduced. In this exposure draft, something has been reinforced. In this exposure draft, something has been clarified. So the purpose of the exposure draft is not just to bring a new thing. It's also to reinforce something. It's also to clarify something for the sake of clarity, right? Now, the first thing we are understanding is the proposal. The first proposal we are understanding currently, number one, is the proposal which relates with role and responsibility of a professional accountant. Now, you have already seen what has been the highlighting point of the code here, but this proposal basically has been brought to reinforce the role of PA, to bring clarity to the role of PA. So it's not something new. It's just a reinforcement, and it's just a clarity to the role of the PA, and the PA should work in the public interest, and the PA should adhere with relevant laws and regulation. Is number one clear to all of you? So this is the first proposal under the exposure draft, role and responsibility of a professional accountant. So this is just a reinforcement, and this is just a clarity on the role and on the public interest of a professional accountant. Is everyone sound and clear on it? Right? So with the growing need of professional accountants, with a growing role of the professional accountant, it was very, very important for IESBA to come with the reinforcement and clarity on the role of the PA, and that the PA should work in the public interest, because there is a growing demand and lots of stakeholders are relying on the work of the PA. So there was a growing pressure on the PA as well, that the PA should work in the public interest and adhere to the laws and regulations. Okay, let's look at the proposal number two then. The proposal number two, which has been brought in, is much more important for a AAA student, because it is about the changes to the definition of objectivity and professional behavior. Now that's important. Changes to the definition of objectivity and professional behavior. Now, you all know the code of conduct, right? You all know the code of conduct, right? And you all know about objectivity, right? And you all know about professional behavior. You must have studied that in your AA paper and your AAA paper, professional behavior and objectivity. Now, what has been important here? Changes. So that's an important word here. Let's see what has been the change in the definition of objectivity and what has been the change in the definition of professional behavior. Let's find the change. And this is very, very important for a AAA student to know, because objectivity and professional behavior is part and parcel of your syllabus. So let's find the change. What if the examiner asks you, explain the revised definition of objectivity, or define the revised definition of objectivity? Because every time a new article is tested, the new article is tested for knowledge. The new article is tested for knowledge. So you should know the definitions even. So many times in the past attempts, whenever the new article came in, the examiner has even asked for definitions from the new article. So you need to prepare in an excellent manner here, right? Is that clear? So let's find out the changes in the definition of objectivity and professional behavior. I'm taking back my table to explore it. Okay, let's find the changes. Number one, the propose over here, it's to propose to amend the definition of objectivity in order to present it in a positive manner rather than a negative manner. The previous definition of objectivity was in a negative manner. It was put in a negative manner, and the code of conduct thought it's very important that we put the definition of objectivity in a positive manner rather than in a negative manner. Now, when you look at the previous definition of objectivity, it was put in a way which was in a negative manner. Look at this, the previous definition. The previous definition of objectivity was not compromising professional or business judgment. It used to start with the word not. So if anyone asks you what is objectivity, so you used to tell not compromising the professional or business judgment. The definition was valid, but the definition was put in a negative manner. So the code of conduct decided, rather than putting the definition with the word not, let's put the definition in a more positive manner, and this is the proposed new definition. The new proposed definition is actual exercise of professional or business judgment without these being compromised by factors such as bias, conflict of interest, or any form of undue influence by or an undue reliance on other parties. Now, see, this is the new definition: actual exercise of professional or business judgment without these being compromised by factors such as bias, undue influence, conflict of interest, etc. So will you learn this definition? Now, this definition is not saying not compromising professional or business judgments. This definition is saying actual exercise of professional or business judgment without being influenced or without being biased. So is this definition important from an examination point of view? So if the examiner asks you to define objectivity, will you define objectivity this way, which I put in red? Or you will use the not definition? No, you cannot use the not definition. This not definition is to be strike through, not use it. So are you clear with the old and new definition now? Will you learn the new definition, everyone? Right, the red one, right? The red one will go into the exam paper. So the new definition is the actual exercise of professional or business judgment. Not compromising professional or business judgment was an old definition. So what changes have been brought in objectivity? The definition. And they've shifted from a negative definition to a positive definition. Yes, it's still an exposure draft, right? Which will be implemented in the next few months. But this exposure draft is examinable, so you should know the new definition. So if the examiner asks you the new definition of objectivity, you will give this definition to the examiner, right? So the very first change is what? The very first change is that we have moved from the negative definition to a positive definition. So negative to positive definition. Will all of you remember that? Number one, yes, you should use the new definition, Osama. That's the reason I'm telling you, right? What's the reason of bringing the article? Who brought this article? The AAA examining team brought this article for a student to know the new definition for June 21 exams, right? Exactly. You should now use this new definition because this is an article by the examiner. So negative to a positive definition, right? Move back. Next. The next thing, the IESBA has also proposed to include a technological bias as a result of the technological advancement, particularly the artificial intelligence and data analytics and their impact on professional accountants' objectivity. Technological bias is a new term. Now, as a student, what if the examiner asks you, what is a technological bias? Because auditors should be free from bias, right? In order to be objective. True? But what if the examiner asks you define technological bias? And you might be confused in the exam paper. What is a technological bias? And the technological bias is a new terminology, right? Which has been brought in the code of conduct. So if the auditor is biased, will the auditor be objective? If the auditor is biased, will the auditor be objective? Should the auditor be free from bias? Right. Whenever Sadia, whenever examiner asks anything on the exposure draft, he will refer the exposure draft in the requirement. He will say, as per the new exposure draft, something like that, and he will ask you something. So if the examiner asks you something about the exposure draft, then you will quote the exposure draft and you will reproduce the knowledge of the exposure draft, right? So auditor should be free from bias in order to be objective. Now there is a new bias coming here, technological bias, because of the advent of the artificial intelligence and because of the advent of the data analytics. What is a technological bias? Now, if you go down and explore what is a technological bias, let me explain you that. Technological bias is very simple. If you just give me 1 minute, if I can put the definition in front of you for a technological bias. Just 1 minute, right? So you can understand it in a more proper manner. Okay, just let me put it with you. Just 1 minute. Okay, I hope you can see the screen back, right? Now, what is a technological bias, right? Now, try to understand. Technological bias is basically that the auditor gets influence with technology, and the auditor starts believing that whatever results have been produced by a computer system or whatever results have been put in by a computer program is right, and he starts to trust computer. So if the auditor trusts the computers, or if the auditor trusts the computer systems, or if the auditor starts to trust the results of the computer systems, because more and more computers are being used in organization, and most of the results, most of the financial statements and everything is being produced from the computer systems. So if you trust the computer, you trust the computers you trust the computer, you trust the results generated from the computers, results generated from the computer. That means you are just relying on the computer, and you are biased. You are relying on the computer and you're not doing anything which you should have done as an auditor. You trust the computer, you trust the results generated by the computer without doing any testing of the computers, or without doing any procedures on the computer, or without making your own independent working, and you just rely on the working of the computer, then you will be biased. If you want to avoid the technological bias, the auditor should develop their own workings and compare that with the computer working, and the auditor should also test the controls of the computer. Auditor should test controls around technology before placing reliance on technology. You cannot just have a blind reliance on technology. That is a technological bias, right? So if the auditor goes to an audit of an organization and he have a blind reliance, see, auditor never place a blind reliance on anything. Auditor should test the controls around computers, believe computers are working right. Can computer makes error? Give me an answer. Can there be a malfunctioning in a computer? Can there be an error in a computer? Can the computer make errors while they're doing a calculation? So can we trust on them 100%? Can we trust on them 100%? No. But if the auditor trusts them on a 100% basis, that is known as a technological bias. Is that clear to everyone? So can we have a blind reliance on a computer? Or should we perform test of controls on computers, and should we perform procedures on computer? Should we have our own independent workings and we compare that with computer? Is that better approach to audit, everyone? Or we can just have a blind reliance on computer. Is that right? Is that wrong? Blind reliance on computer, is that right? Is that wrong? That is absolutely wrong. So should the auditor have an independent working? Should the auditor test the controls around computer, the technology, before he places the reliance? So can auditor rely on technology? Yes. But before placing reliance on technology, should he test the systems around technology? Can auditor place a blind reliance even on an expert? Can an auditor place a blind reliance even on the internal auditor? No. So how can the auditor place a blind reliance on technology? So with the advent of technology, with the greater use of technology, the auditor should ensure that whenever the auditor is relying on technology, you should not have a perception that every time technology is right. So this is if you have this perception, this is a very wrong perception as an auditor. Perception that technology is always right. Technology is always right. Is that the right perception? The code of conduct says this is the biasness. This perception is the biasness. I hope you're getting my message here. This perception is the biasness. So should we have this perception? Is that the right perception? If the auditor has this perception, is the auditor entering into a technological bias? Are you clear? So is everyone clear of how to go about defining a technological bias? Even if on Google, you go on Google after my session today, go on Google and write on Google technological bias, and you will get a very good definition of technological bias. You can learn that for exam paper, right? So that's the next change which has been brought in, a definition of a technological bias as part of objectivity. So if the auditor has a technological bias, will he be objective? Answer. If the auditor has a technological bias, is he objective? No. Okay, the last thing from this part of the discussion. The definition, the last thing, the definition of professional behavior has been strengthened. Has it been changed? No. Has the definition of professional behavior changed? No, it says the definition of professional behavior has been strengthened. Has been strengthened to include not just compliance with the code, but also to act in the public interest. So the definition of professional behavior, it has just been strengthened, and it is not just you comply with the code of conduct, it's also that you work in the public interest. So that's the third important thing, right? Which you should know from the proposal, that the definition of professional behavior has been strengthened to include not just compliance with the code of conduct, but also to work in the public interest. So as a professional accountant, your responsibility is not just to comply with the code of conduct, your responsibility also is to work in the public interest, because the public relies on the work of the professional accountant. The public relies on the work of an auditor even. So more and more stakeholders, more and more sections of the public, and more third parties are increasingly relying on the work of auditors. Am I right? So does that put a burden on the accountants to work in public interest? Is more and more people relying on accountants, auditors, and different roles of accountants? So is that increasing the demand that they should also work in the public interest? Right? So number two, changes to objectivity and professional behavior. Is that clear to all of you? Number one thing you should know is the change of the definition from negative to positive in terms of objectivity. Introducing the terminology technological bias due to advent of technology, and then strengthening the definition of a professional behavior from not just complying with code, but also to work in the public interest. Right? Is that clear to all of you? The proposals? Okay, one last proposal for the class today, number 3. If you explore the number 3 proposal from the exposure draft, back to the table. The new application material to the principle of integrity. So we have brought some new, the code of conduct has brought some new application material to the principle of integrity. Is principle of integrity a new principle? No. The code of conduct has brought some new application material to the principle of integrity, right? So the number 3rd proposal is the new application material to the concept of integrity. Integrity is not a new concept. Integrity is a concept you must have studied in the AA paper and then again in the AAA paper. But let's see what new concept material has been brought to the principle of integrity and what you should know as a AAA student. Okay, I'm reading the column in front of the new application material which has been brought for integrity. Let me do it larger And let's read what have been some of the new material in integrity. Integrity includes having the determination to act appropriately when confronted with dilemmas or difficult situations. Is that the good definition code of conduct has brought in? Determination to act appropriately. Integrity. When confronted with a dilemma or a difficult situation. Now, someone is bribing you. Is that a difficult situation? And determination to act appropriately. Someone is asking you to cheat. Now that is a dilemma. Determination to act appropriately is integrity. So is that the right definition, everyone? Determination to act appropriately when confronted with the dilemmas or a difficult situation, right? Are you clear with the bullet number 1, everyone? Okay, number 2. When confronted with dilemmas or difficult situations such as, so that means below is the examples. What can be some difficult dilemmas and what can be some difficult situations you might be confronted with where you need to act appropriately? Number 1, standing one's ground when facing pressure to do otherwise. Now, at times when you're working in an office environment or in a workplace environment as an accountant, we do feel pressure from our directors, the directors asking us to window dress the financial statement, or the director asking us to manipulate the results. Standing one's ground when facing pressure to do otherwise. That is the determination to act appropriately. Standing one's ground when facing pressure to do otherwise. Is that clear, everyone? So that is your determination to act appropriately as an accountant. Number 2, challenging others. Challenging others when appropriate, even when doing so create potential adverse personal or organizational consequence. Challenging others. If you think you are a manager, you are a finance manager, right? And you believe your finance director is wrong, challenge him. Don't just say, oh, he's my finance director. If I challenge him, I might lose my job. No, that is not the definition of integrity. A lot of time, a professional accountant doesn't challenge because he has a fear of losing job. Am I right? Do you agree? So if you are a manager, you will never challenge your director because you know if I challenge my director will not like it. And my director will say, okay, you are fired from the job. So the second situation is challenging others when appropriate. And number 3 situation is the IESBA dropped the term moral courage from its proposal and instead used to act appropriately as above, believing that the term moral might be misunderstood in different countries. So basically, they are saying moral courage. You should have a moral courage, right, to speak in front of your director. Or you should have a moral courage not to accept a bribe. Or you should have a moral courage to speak the truth. But the code of conduct has dropped the term moral courage for integrity, crossed through, because they thought that moral courage might be a misunderstood term, and instead they brought a term instead used to act appropriately. Act appropriately. So what is the jargon you will be using in the exam paper? Moral courage or to act appropriately in a given situation. So if someone asks you to define integrity, will you say integrity is a moral courage? Or will you say integrity is to act appropriately? Which term will you use? Act appropriately, right? So please ensure that in an exam paper, when you are defining integrity, so integrity means to act appropriately, determination to act appropriately when confronted with dilemmas or difficult situation. So there has been a reinforcement here, which you should know for exam paper. Number 1, determination to act appropriately when confronted with difficult situations, right? And will you remember the examples I've given you? Number 1, standing one grounds. Standing one grounds, that's the first example here. Number 2, challenging others. You should challenge others. That's very important, right? So these were the 2 areas where you should act appropriately. And how would you assure you are acting appropriately? When you stand one ground means that you are firm. If someone offers you a bribe, stand one ground. Say, no, I cannot take a bribe, even though you might lose a job. standing one's ground. Is that clear, Muhammad Arsalan? So standing one ground is if someone asks you to manipulate the financial statement, will you? Is that clear? So is everyone clear with the new application material to the principle of integrity? That the code of conduct is defining integrity in a different manner. So does integrity means to be straightforward? No. Will you write the definition that in the exam paper? Integrity doesn't mean to be straightforward anymore. Integrity now means determination to act appropriately. Will you remember that key word for exam paper? So are you clear on number 1, number 2, number 3 from the code of conduct provisions? We still have number 4 and number 5, which I will start at the beginning of my day 2 tomorrow. The 4th and the 5th, which I'll do tomorrow, and then we'll wrap up this article. But I hope the encouragement has been given to you to read this article, which is spread on 7 pages. And I hope this summary document will help you. Even if you read this summary document, that's an excellent preparation you can have about this document for your upcoming exams in June. So will you take a printout of this summary document I prepared for you as a tutor? And will you go through this summary document for the day 2 tomorrow? Just to ensure that you know exactly where the changes have come in. So was this document effective? I thought initially you might be struggling with this document, but I hope you start making sense of this document now, right? So please ensure this new article is on your fingertips. I will be spending another 10 to 15 minutes tomorrow on this new article defining how things have changed into the code for a professional accountant. And I hope you will start using the practice platform even. And I hope the encouragement which has been given to you on the use of the practice platform, you will start to follow it. And please ensure that you watch my previous webinars, the March 2021 webinar, the December 20 webinar as a minimum, Now from tomorrow, when I take on my webinar, I will be going on specific agendas. I will be using the practice platform tomorrow as well when I drill business risk, but I have purposely chosen a question tomorrow where I will also be illustrating to you how to use a spreadsheet when a question asks you to perform an analytical procedure. So if a question is asking you to perform an analytical procedure, how will you make use of an Excel and a spreadsheet and the word processor document for writing a business risk answer? So we have a good agenda tomorrow, a business risk and using the analytical procedures in terms of ROM. And I will be completing the article which I started today, which is the exposure draft, and will be giving you a lots of do's and don'ts on the practice platform tomorrow as well. So that's not the end of the practice platform. The journey continues. We have a specific topic coming tomorrow. Today's session was a journal session just to give you an awareness about the AAA CBEs and more importantly, to give you an awareness of the recently published article. I hope there are two benefits of the session today. Number one, you got to know about the new article if you were unaware of it, and you will make a plan to study it. Am I correct on that? Right? And the encouragement of the practice platform, right? The encouragement of the practice platform. Right, Mohammed Arsalan, how to use a blank workspace. I will be guiding you about that tomorrow, so don't be worried about it. So if you want to practice a past paper, which is not on the practice platform, Mohammed Arsalan, how would you use the blank workspace? I'll be using the blank workspace over the next 4 days because there are lots of questions which I will be doing in the webinar, which are not available on the practice platform. So eventually I have to go to the blank workspace, right? So don't be worried about it. I was very clear today that this is not the end of the computer-based understanding. You will be understanding the computer-based platform over the next 15 hours. This was just the first one. So have I told you everything about the computer-based environment? No, there's still much in store, right? And Sayed Waris, if you want to submit your answers, you write on a computer-based environment, you can just copy that answer on a Word document, a Microsoft Word document, and you can email to the tutor. So whatever answer you have wrote in a word processor or on a briefing note in the practice platform, you can just copy that into a Microsoft Word and you can send that to the tutor for checking, right? So If anyone of you has missed some part of the webinar today, you will be getting the recordings of it tomorrow on the WhatsApp group and on the ACCA Vimeo channel. And if any documents I've used today, I will be sharing them on the WhatsApp group. So don't be worried about it. If any WhatsApp group is full, I will be sharing the link of the third WhatsApp group. So don't be worried about that as well. Can you just give me a quick feedback about the overall session today? Was it beneficial to all of you in terms of understanding just the right exam rigor for June 21? And there is plenty much in store coming your way over the next 12 hours. Okay, and I think over the next 15 hours, the 5 days, you will have a very good command on the computer-based exams, because this is just the trailer and there's much more on it. So I believe 15 hours will be a good enough time for all of you to start working on a computer-based platform, and you should start working on it from today or from tomorrow, right? So thank you very much for participating in this live webinar. I would encourage that the session tomorrow, when it starts at 8:30 p.m., you've all come with the reading of the article. I have stopped at number 3 today, right? So I believe when you come tomorrow in the session, and just to ensure we wrap up quickly, you will come with the reading of the number 4 and number 5, right? Okay, thank you very much for that. So I'm just wrapping up my webinar now, and I'll see you back tomorrow, day 2, 8:30 p.m. And we'll be starting on with the agenda of business risk, risk of material misstatement, how to use analytical procedure, more about the practice platform, and completing the article. Take care of yourself. Have a nice practice ahead of your exams coming up on the 7th of June. And I'll be back with another live session tomorrow. Till then, have a nice day, all of you. It's your tutor Kashif Kamran signing off from the day 1 of the AAA Practice to Pass webinar being organized by ACCA Pakistan. Take care. Have a nice day ahead. Goodbye and Allah Hafiz.